tears. Oh. Okay, so like everybody deals with losing, right? To a rival on a last-second field goal. Whatever, it's fine. I'm totally fine. But I cope with losing with an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. Those 23 flavors are like so delicious. They totally wash away the pain of your college football team taking a big fat L. College football, it's a pepper thing.
Tire care shouldn't come with extra costs or surprise fees. It should be simple, straightforward, and stress-free. So at Midas, they're rolling out the limited lifetime tire guarantee, included with every tire purchase with paid installation. You'll pay nothing for flat repairs, nada for flat replacements, zilch for tire rotations every 5,000 miles, and zero for other preventative maintenance. So with this limited lifetime tire guarantee, you'll pay a whole lot of nothing compared to what the other guys charge for tire care. That's the limited lifetime tire guarantee, only at Midas.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. And you can follow us on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. Whole lot to do today. We're rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We will get it going today with the New York Giants. I thought for sure we were going to lead with my New England Patriots beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Patriots showing you that they are one of the best teams in the NFL. I thought maybe we could lead the show with a little NFC West update, as you did have the Rams do a good job up against the San Francisco 49ers yesterday afternoon. The Seattle Seahawks continue to roll, and what a story that has been with Mike McDonald and also Sam Darnold. I also thought maybe we could even start the show with how Sunday Night Football ended last night with the Steelers, man, being arguably the most inconsistent, solid/good team in the NFL, as the Steelers got dominated last night, and Aaron Rodgers looked like he was about 400 years old last night going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. But I always joke that when you walk into a studio on a Monday and you get ready to sit down and do the show on Monday after a weekend of NFL football, now we've been through 10 weekends of the NFL season, that we're either talking about a head coach or a quarterback. And we're either talking about the head coach and quarterback in a good way or a bad way. And if it's a bad way, we are either talking about an individual decision that was made that cost the team a game, or a coach being on the hot seat, or a coach just being out. Well, the New York Football Giants today, they announced earlier this morning that Brian Daboll is out as their head football coach. They have said goodbye. So now that makes it two coaches that have been fired in season. Brian Callahan obviously being the first one a few weeks ago with the Tennessee Titans. And now we have our second open job in the NFL from a head coaching standpoint, and that's Brian Daboll being out. It is amazing, by the way, because it was a month ago that I went and I covered the Giants up against the Philadelphia Eagles in the swamps of Jersey at MetLife Stadium. That was the same night where the Philadelphia Phillies got eliminated in the postseason by the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that night was an unbelievable, unexpected night that did signal a light at the end of the tunnel for the dreck that has been the Giants franchise of the last half decade plus. Because that night, up against the defending world champions in the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, with Jackson Dart, Brian Daboll, Cam Scatterbo, they showed you some hope. They showed you that they have something at the quarterback position. And being in the locker room after the game, being in the press conference room after the game, there was just an aura, there was a confidence, there was a swagger, and there was a feeling of change that was coming from the words that were emanating out of the mouth of one Jackson Dart. And then when Brian Daboll took to the podium, there was a spark. There was a twinkle in his eye, because he knew that he had his quarterback. He knew that he had his guy in Jackson Dart. And you go from that a month ago to a month later, where the Giants have not won another game. Cam Scatterbo is now out for the season. And oh yeah, by the way, after they blew a game up against the Chicago Bears, it's not that they just lost. It's how they lost. And they blew that game, and Jackson Dart gets hurt in that game. It leads to today's news that Brian Daboll is out. Now, you may be sitting there and saying, Zach, if Brian Daboll is out, Joe Schoen has to be out as well. When the news came down today that Brian Daboll was out, I immediately did an instant reaction video. And in my instant reaction video, I said, it's going to sound unconventional. It will probably be disagreed with. It is probably the wrong move. But right now, we have not heard anything about Joe Schoen. And since we didn't hear in a joint statement from the Giants that it's Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and it was only being reported as Brian Daboll, I am one of the thinking, and I'm one of the thought process, that Joe Schoen was going to remain intact as Giants general manager. And there was a report and a statement from the Giants shortly after that where the New York Giants said Joe Schoen is going to lead the search for the next head football coach of the Giants. Now, will there be a week or two or maybe even 2 months of a push where Giants fans will be saying, we don't think that's the right thing. Joe Schoen should be out. Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen were a pair. They were a duo. If Daboll's out, Schoen should be out. Are people going to say that? Absolutely. And I'm not even going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong on that. And I don't really want to speculate on this. But it is part of the conversation. And I hate to make this part of the conversation. And the Giants could sell you on, oh, they like the roster. And, oh, Joe Schoen has built a good roster. Like, that's what they could tell you with the names that they have on this team, like a Brian Burns and a Dexter Lawrence. Whether these were guys that Joe Schoen brought in or not. You know, Malik Neighbors, who's out for the year. Scadaboo, who's now out for the year. Dart, who they just drafted. Like, the Giants could sit there and they could craft an argument in terms of justifying keeping Joe Schoen as the general manager. But I also think this has to play a factor into the conversation. And it is, I will admit, reckless. And I mean reckless speculation. And we wish him nothing but the best. But the matter of the fact is, John Mara's health right now is not in a good spot. John Mara right now, it has been told to us, right, and this has been talked about, that he's battling cancer. So if he's the main point person for this organization in John Mara, can he lead a search right now to fulfill a general manager spot? Can he? So is maybe that part of the reason, and I know that sounds like horrible to even say, but is that part of the reason why Joe Schoen keeps his job today is because of the uncertain health, and we wish John Mara nothing but the best, of one John Mara. And okay, John Mara clearly trusts Joe Schoen enough where he got the job, and now Joe Schoen will be trusted even more, whether it's deserved or not, to find the next head football coach. It's just something that it sounds crummy to even talk about. I don't even like talking about it, but my job is to be honest. And that's something that has just honestly crossed my mind with the unknown health status of John Mara. Is that a reason why Joe Schoen keeps his job? Regardless, Joe Schoen, no matter how much you bitch and complain and could something change, sure. But with how it's being told to us, Joe Schoen is going to be the one that is leading the search here to find the next head football coach of the New York Giants. So let's advance this conversation. Number one, how attractive do you think the Giants' job is? The Giants, who are one of those gold standard franchises, one of those well-respected organizations, have been a complete and utter disaster for almost the last decade. Now, with that being said, you have a piece at the quarterback position in Jackson Dart, where I don't know if he's going to be a stud. I don't know if he's going to be a franchise quarterback, but I can't tell you he isn't. You then have a running back in Cam Scadaboo who will be coming back off an injury that is thought of to be a piece that could be used to have success in the NFL. You have a no doubt about it when healthy, top 10 wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. And then on defense, you have some pieces, who knows how long they're going to stay, in a Dexter Lawrence, a Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and some other names as well. So have the Giants been able to put all those pieces into winning? No. But it's not as if you have the worst pieces where you're trying to take this thing off the ground. You have something to build with. Now, the new head football coach, is he going to be okay with getting teamed up with the general manager that has baggage and that has been here with the previous regime, and will they view that as alignment? I actually think it's not going to be that big of a deal as what people make it out to be. And I understand, I've been there before where I said, if you're going to fire the GM, fire the head coach. Like, for example, the Dolphins fired the GM last week in Chris Greer. They're keeping Mike McDaniel. I thought that was sloppy. I think McDaniel needed to go. In this case, it's not desired. But if, let's say, whoever the new head football coach is that's coming on in, you'll have to deal with Joe Schoen for a year. And then after a year, if Joe Schoen is still being talked about and is still being questioned, then he's going to be out. And then in a way, a year from now, as a coach, whether you want it or not, you'll have more power. And you'll have more power because then whoever they hire to be the next GM, they're going to have to approve by you, or you're at least going to have to give a thumbs up on it because they're going to say, can you be a head coach that could work with candidate X, Y, or Z? So from the outside immediately, it may not be perceived to be as a positive, but I don't think it's as much as a negative as what people make it out to be. So who could the next head football coach be? There's going to be a ton of names that are going to be speculated. Bill Belichick will be speculated. Joe Brady will be speculated. Do I think when they just hired the old Bills OC in Brian Daboll that they're going to go back down that road? They could, but it's probably not going to happen. Cliff Kingsbury will be speculated. Lane Kiffin has already denied interest. He'll be speculated because of the relationship with Jackson Dart. If Kevin Stefanski is set free by the Cleveland Browns at the end of the year, he'll be someone that will probably get an interview. Mike McCarthy, if he wants a job, could probably get an interview with the Giants. Clint Kubiak could probably get an interview with the Giants. I don't know if he'll get an interview, but you know who will be interested? John Gruden. And then you also have to wait and see to determine the status of Mike Kafka, because Mike Kafka, a lot of people thought he was someone that was on the rise and that could get a job. He's now the interim head football coach of the Giants. But I purposely left off a name on this list. And when you sit here on 12 minutes after 3 o'clock here on the East Coast on November 10th in the year of 2025, and you're going to say, Zach, make an early prediction on who gets the next job or who is the next head football coach of the New York Giants and who gets the job, I'm going to say Jesse Minter. And I know what the immediate reaction is going to be. You have a young quarterback? You're going to hire a defensive-minded head coach, Zach? What are you, a dummy? I don't care. Jesse Minter is a disciple of Jim Harbaugh. Jesse Minter is doing a heck of a job as the Chargers defensive coordinator for the last 2 seasons. Jesse Minter is a young, up-and-coming future head coach in this league. I wouldn't get so caught up in, is it offense or is it defense? Like the Patriots had a young quarterback in Drake May. Who'd they hire? Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's looking pretty damn good as a head football coach. Drake May's looking pretty damn good as the quarterback of the Patriots. And I know you could sit there and say, well, Zach, Vrabel's an established name, so he gets a pass. Well, how about Mike McDonald? Right? Mike McDonald, 2 years ago, when he got hired by the Seahawks, well, he ended up getting Sam Darnold this year. Sam Darnold's not a gimme. Mike McDonald and Sam Darnold is working out pretty damn okay. I know that they just lost 2, and I also know that this guy has had a limitation. But remember, the Giants aren't going to go from the outhouse to the penthouse overnight and instantly be a Super Bowl contender again. But a guy like Sean McDermott's a defensive-minded head coach, and he was able to develop Josh Allen. So it is not a crazy world to suggest that a defensive-minded head coach could be the next head coach of the Giants. But I think Jesse Minter gets the Giants back to their roots. I think he is a coach who's a player's coach but isn't a doormat. There's a lot of Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh energy emanating from one Jesse Minter, and I think he would be a guy that could hire the right offensive coordinator and lead the Giants into their next era of getting the Giants back to being a respectable franchise. So yes, there will be a ton of names thrown out there, and who knows how this goes. But right now, prediction number 1 on who replaces Brian Daboll on the day that Brian Daboll gets fired, I'm saying that the New York Giants hire Chargers defensive coordinator in Jesse Minter. What say you? 888-710-4ISM, 888-710-4476. We'll take a break. When we come on back, we'll get into the Patriots beating the Buccaneers, How far are you willing to go with the Patriots? And also, the Bills just got annihilated by the Miami freaking Dolphins yesterday. How concerned should we be with the Buffalo Bills? We'll get into that when the Zach Gelb Show does continue. We're off and running on a very busy Monday of our extravaganza.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, poll question is up at Zach Gelb at INF Sportsnet. Already thousands and thousands of votes in. Right now, who should win the NFL MVP? Early returns so far. There's three options as we're basically through 10 weeks of the NFL season. I know you do conclude tonight with the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles at Lambeau Field. But I think the three options that have emerged through pretty much 10 weeks, Drake May, Matthew Stafford, and Jonathan Taylor. The early returns, Jonathan Taylor, 43.3%. Matthew Stafford in at third, actually, with 27.8%. And then Drake May at 28.9%. I'll give you my answer later on in the show. But I'll tell you this. The coach of the year in the NFL should be Mike Vrabel. That's no disrespect to Shane Steichen. That's no disrespect to Kyle Shanahan. Right? Whoever else you may say for coach of the year, Mike McDonald, Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, if you look at what Mike Vrabel was taking over, that was a 4-win team last year, a 5-win team last year. And you look at this roster, sure, they brought in a Harold Landry, a Vrabel guy. Sure, they brought in Milton Williams, number 97, who is a beast. Right? You get Christian Barmore back from the blood clots a year ago. Offensively, it's not as if they have these great names. I like what I'm seeing out of Will Campbell. It's not as if this offensive line is filled with great hog mollies. Travion Henderson finally came alive yesterday and really in the last 2 weeks. But you look at this team, Stephon Diggs can make a timely catch still. It's not as if this team is loaded with talent. But you see a coach on the sidelines in Mike Vrabel that just has a certain energy about him. And he's everything that you want. He's kind of like a Dan Campbell, where he's everything that you want in a head football coach in the year of 2025, where they're players coaches, but they're not doormats. And there's something that you just can't place a value on in understanding how to just interact with human beings. Like you see Vrabel yesterday going over the sideline and challenging the defense. You see Vrabel earlier in the season when Ramondre Stevenson had a fumble problem say, we're going to need you. We're not just going to throw you on the bench for the rest of the game. And case in point, in the Buffalo Bills game, he fumbled early, then was a star at the end of the game. And yes, I understand you either have a quarterback in this league or you don't. And Drake May is looking like to be pretty special. But Drake May threw a bad interception at the end of the game that could have cost the Patriots the game. Why did the Patriots not break? It's because Mike Vrabel knows how to manage his team on the sidelines. And Mike Vrabel got his defense to respond. We're seeing a team that you could argue heading into the season had a bottom 10 roster in the NFL. And the New England Patriots may be the number one overall seed in the AFC when the postseason starts. Pinch me. I feel like I'm back in the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era where the road to the Super Bowl would go through New England. And you need some breaks along the way. Don't get me wrong. You need to win games that maybe you probably should have lost. Like last week up against the Falcons, they probably should have lost that game. But they found a way to survive based off team football. If the offense isn't playing great, the defense picks them up. If the defense isn't off to the best start, the offense picks them up. And also, let's not forget about special teams. Marcus Jones has been an asset in the return game. Borregales, who looks like he could be an Abercrombie and Fitch model for crying out loud, and he's a kicker. You know, I don't usually like a jack kicker. But he's been kicking pretty damn well for the Patriots. But yesterday, with what the Patriots did up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I would actually argue that it's their best victory of the season. And I know people are going to say, but Zach, you went to Buffalo and you beat Buffalo. Divisional games, right? Anything could happen. Stu's dreadful Raiders a few years ago, that was with Antonio Pierce, right, on Christmas Day. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. right? Like yesterday, the Dolphins annihilated the Buffalo Bills. Divisional games, anyone could pull off the upset. And I'm not diminishing in what the Patriots did going to Buffalo and getting a victory up against the Buffalo Bills. That gave them confidence. But you're going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though they didn't have Mike Evans, even though they didn't have Bucky Irving, even though they didn't have Chris Godwin, even though they didn't have Hassan Reddick, but they still have Baker Mayfield, Emeka Ibuka, Levante David. Like, they got a damn good team. And you go on the road and you beat a team like Tampa Bay, who is a top 10 team in the NFL, that shows you that the Patriots are a good football team. It doesn't mean the Patriots will win a playoff game. It doesn't mean the Patriots are going to an AFC championship. It doesn't mean that the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. It doesn't mean that they're going to win the Super Bowl. But right now, the Patriots have me believing that anything is possible this year, especially in a year where the AFC is wide open. The Bills are 6-3. The Steelers are 5-4. They may not even win the division. The Ravens are rising from the ashes. They're now 4-5. The Colts, don't get me wrong, Jonathan Taylor has been an unbelievable story. Daniel Jones has been an unbelievable story. But the last 2 weeks, Daniel Jones keeps on coughing up the football to the other team. The Jaguars are a fraudulent team at 5-4. We saw that yesterday. The Denver Broncos are 8-2. If you ask me right now, and I get it, the Broncos defense is absurd, who would I rather be for the next 5 years? Would I rather be the Patriots with Mike Vrabel and Drake May, or the Broncos with Sean Payton and Bo Nix? It wouldn't even be close. I'd much rather be the Patriots. Like, the Chargers are 7-3, but they still have big game questions. The Chiefs are sitting there at 5-4. They're never dead. They're never out, but they're vulnerable. Things are going to be funky this year in the AFC. Now, maybe it'll be the same old at the end of the day, and we get to an AFC championship game, and it's the Bills and it's the Chiefs. And maybe the Chiefs go to another Super Bowl. It's definitely possible. But there's a legitimate chance that the Patriots are in Santa freaking Clara for the Super Bowl. And I went into this season saying, you know what? The Patriots act like, don't be a homer. The Patriots are probably going to be 9-8. And that would be a tremendous step of progress and a tremendous feeling of hope. But I did say before the start of the season, if you look at their schedule, it's not crazy if they get out to a hot start for them to be a 10 or 11 win football team. It's not crazy. And now they're sitting there at 8-2. And a few weeks back after they beat the Bills, I said, okay, all right, the schedule was easy. They beat the Saints, they beat the Titans, they beat the Browns. But after those three, I said, just split up against the Falcons and the Bucs. They won both. So now they're sitting there at 8-2. 8-2. Stu, do me a favor. What's the Patriots record? Sorry. Well, what is it again?
That'd be 8-2.
This isn't nice. Samter? Well, what's the Patriots record? What is the Patriots record?
Still not getting to 10 games.
Oh, that's just a stupid statement right now. The Patriots would have to fold as a franchise. When Samter and I in the summer were arguing, could the Patriots win 10 games? And I said, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. But do me a favor. Sorry, I'm having a brain malfunction here. What's the Patriots record?
Not 10. That's what I know.
No. But what's the Patriots record right now? Through 10 weeks of the season, what's the Patriots record?
I don't have the standings up, so I don't know it off the top of my head.
Well, I know they lost 2 games. They haven't lost any other games. So if there's 10 weeks of the season, you went to Boston University, you're good at math. That would make the Patriots what?
It just depends if they have a bye. It's really hard to do
They
that
have not
math.
had a bye yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're 8-2.
Oh, okay, that's what
Suck
it is.
on that.
They have more wins than Samter's Chiefs and Jets combined.
Yeah.
Not if you add my Cardinals into it. And my Lions.
They're 8-2. And think about this. Here's their schedule the rest of the way. Jets at the Bengals. Maybe Burrow's back by then. The Giants, the Bills, the Ravens, the Jets, and the Dolphins. I'm going to the game Thursday. The Jets just won a game, and they just came back. They'll beat the Jets. So they're going to be 9-2. Then let's say they even lose to the Bengals, which isn't a lock. Let's just say they lose to the Bengals. Then they beat the Giants. Let's say they lose to the Bills, and they lose to the Ravens. Then they beat the Jets and the Dolphins. Right there, that's being as critical as possible. That's 4 more wins. That'd be 12 wins on the season. And I'm being critical. be a 13-win football. Like, if I had to guess this accurately, they beat the Jets, they beat the Bengals, they beat the Giants, they lose to the Bills and the Ravens, they beat the Jets, they beat the Dolphins. That's 5 more wins. They're going to be a 13-win football team. A 13-win football team. And this is the first time I'm going to say it all year. And I waited on this because I didn't believe it. And I'm only going to tell you things that I believe. The New England Patriots are winning the AFC East. They are winning the AFC East. That is what I think is going to happen. They already beat the Bills. They'll probably lose to the Bills the second time. But that Bills locker room has problems right now. I was there a few weeks ago after they lost the Atlanta Falcons. That was a dejected Bills locker room. Josh Allen looked so frustrated. You know who also looked frustrated yesterday once again against the Dolphins? Josh Allen. I don't think Josh Allen believes in his wide receivers right now. I don't know how much Josh Allen believes in his head football coach and Sean McDermott right now. And the Bills are losing games that they're not supposed to lose. And I understand, right, a few years ago when the Patriots still had Belichick and they went to Buffalo with Mac Jones and they ran the football and they ran the football and they ran the football. They beat the Buffalo Bills. And some people were saying, oh, the Patriots are back. They're going to win the AFC East. That's totally different this go around. There's a different feeling with Drake May. There's a different feeling with Mike Vrabel. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you for the next 5 years the Patriots are going to win the division each and every year. The Bills still have Josh Allen, right? But with the way that this is shaping up right now, with us being 10 weeks into the season and the New England Patriots are 8-2 with their schedule and the Buffalo Bills are 6-3 and Buffalo still has to play Tampa Bay, they still have to play the Eagles. Yeah, they still have to play the Steelers, the Texans. The Patriots are going to win this division. As long as the quarterback doesn't get hurt, the New England Patriots are going to have a home playoff game this year, and they're going to win the AFC East. The Pats are 8-2. The Bills are 6-3. Once again, the Patriots' schedule: Jets, Bengals, Giants, Bills, Ravens, Jets, Dolphins. The Bills' schedule: Bucs, Texans, Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Browns, Eagles, Jets. Stu, do me a favor here. Win-loss for the Bills for the rest of the season.
Okay.
The Buffalo Bills this upcoming weekend, they're in Orchard Park, and they are playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think they will lose that game.
Then they're at Houston on a short week on a Thursday night.
Houston's been better, but I think they win.
At Pittsburgh, Thanksgiving weekend.
Win.
Cincinnati, Burrow probably going to be back by then. That's December 7th.
I still think they'll beat the Bengals.
At New England.
Loss.
Wow, you think they're...
Both. I think both.
At Cleveland.
Win.
Eagles.
Loss.
Jets.
Win.
So that gives the Buffalo Bills 5 more wins. So that's 11 wins on the season for the Buffalo Bills. Good season, right? If you would have told me before the year the Bills would have 11 wins, I'd be like, oh, I would have thought it would have been higher. But then if you would have told me the Patriots win the AFC East while the Bills have 11 wins, I would have looked at you like you had 4,000 heads. So the Patriots, in your formula, Stu, just need to get 3 more wins. You know, depending on how the tiebreaker is, if they lost, but you said they would beat them twice. So if they don't beat them twice, then, you know, maybe they have to get an extra win. But the Pats right now have 8 wins. Let me give you the Pats schedule the rest of the way. You give me a win-loss. Jets.
Win.
At the Bengals.
Win.
Giants.
Win.
Bills.
I said win, so I'm going to stick with the win.
At the Ravens.
They'll lose that one.
At the Jets.
They'll win that one.
And then the Dolphins.
Win.
So that's 6 more wins for the Patriots who already have
14.
8 wins. Even if Stu's wrong on 1, even if Stu's wrong on 2, the Patriots will still win the AFC East. And I didn't want to get to this point. Through the first 9 weeks of the season, I wouldn't even entertain it. Even when the Patriots beat the Bills, they said, this doesn't mean the Patriots are going to win the AFC East. But now, barring a disaster, barring a catastrophic result with the Patriots, they're going to win the AFC East, folks. And you know what's even crazier? There's a chance the Chiefs don't win the AFC West. I'm not saying that's a lock yet, but there's a chance the Chiefs don't win the AFC West. You could have wild card teams this year if they both make the playoffs now, which I think they both will. where the Bills and the Chiefs will be wild card teams. Oh, boy. Like the NFC, it's a structured mess, right? The NFC, there's good teams. You just don't know what the order is going to be with the Eagles and the Lions and the Packers and the Buccaneers and the Rams and the 49ers and the Seahawks. Like those are all really damn good teams. You just don't know how the cookie's going to crumble 1 through 7. In the AFC, there's not a lot of good teams. And there are even some teams that have good records that we question them, like the Broncos. But the AFC is totally up for grabs. Now, probably the Chiefs still end up making the Super Bowl. But the fact that we're living in a world where the Bills and the Chiefs could miss the playoffs, or the Bills and the Chiefs could make the playoffs as a wild card team, and there's a chance that neither are division winners, my oh my, that's really something. And it's not premature to have that conversation. We are 10 weeks in. 10 weeks in. There's 8 more weeks left in the regular season. We're 10 weeks in now. 2 months left of the regular season. And if the playoffs started today, I haven't even looked at this yet, but if the playoffs started today, the Colts would be the 1, the Broncos would be the 2, the Pats would be the 3. All 3 of those teams are 8-2. Then after that, the Steelers would be the 4, the Chargers would be the 5, the Bills would be the 6, and the Jaguars would be the 7. Let me just make sure I got all my division winners in there. Yep, South, the North, and the West, and the Chiefs would be the outside looking in. Oh, my goodness gracious. So I think the Pats, that's how far I'm willing to go. They're going to have a home playoff game, and they're going to win the AFC East. Mike Vrabel and Drake May. Job well done. And don't forget about Milton Williams. I love that big mofo in the middle of the line, number 97. That dude could be my favorite player on the football team right now. That dude, Milton Williams, he could be my favorite player in the NFL right now. I may get myself a Milton Williams jersey for crying out loud. He's been a wonderful addition. And you know this on the Zach Gelb Show. We do respect the big guys in the trenches. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a time out. We'll come on back. We'll do a news brief next. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Advantage Gold. Get help securing your financial future with Advantage Gold today. Text GOLD to 85545 now and request your free gold investment kit, or go to AdvantageGold.com for terms, message, and data rates may apply. There is another coaching vacancy in the NFL. The Giants have fired their head coach, Brian Daboll, 10 games into his 4th season with the team at 2-8. Yesterday, the last straw when they blew their 4th double-digit lead on the road this year. Daboll, coach of the year in his first season on the job, leading the Giants to a playoff victory, but it's been downhill since 11-33. Dan Quinn is taking over the Commanders' defense, adding the role of play caller on that side from Joe Witt, while the 3-6 Bengals are sparked by the return of Joe Burrow to practice. The Pro Bowl quarterback has been out since week 2 with turf toe. Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton has left the team to undergo treatment for testicular cancer. He said his prognosis is excellent and hopes to be back on the field soon. The Eagles and Packers meet again, this time in Lambeau, to close out week 10 after Philly swept last season's series, including the playoff victory. And the 7-3 Lakers in Charlotte tonight to tip off the night of action. I'm Rich Hacker.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, news brief time right here. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. It's time to ask the pros first, though, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INSSportsEditor at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Pick O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's start things off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I can't get a read on this team. They're an inconsistent football team. They may or may not make the playoffs. They are sitting there at 5-4. The Ravens are moving in the right direction. You look at the Steelers, ever since they beat the Browns, and they started off the season at 4-1. They lost to the Bengals 33-31. They lost to the Packers 35-25. Then they beat the Colts, and then they lose to the Chargers. And it's not just that they lost to the Chargers. They weren't even competitive. And it wasn't as if their defense was just awful. Their offense gave them no chance in the game. Aaron Rodgers last night was 16 of 31 for 161 yards, and he had 1 passing touchdown to 2 interceptions. His quarterback rating was 50.6. Yikes. Here's Aaron Rodgers on the offensive struggles and a loss to the Chargers.
Defense played really well tonight, and offensively we were pretty bad. So we got to find a way to get open on third down. I got to find a way to hit them, and because that was just some bad ball.
You thought the Steelers' loss was bad to the Chargers. At least the Chargers are a good team. The Buffalo Bills got smacked by the Dolphins yesterday. The Dolphins improved their record on the season to 3-7 as the Dolphins annihilated the Bills 30-13. Josh Allen takes full blame for the loss to the Dolphins.
Starts with me, so I gotta be better. Starts with a better week of practice. Watch this one, learn from it, get on to next week.
And Sean McDermott, did he call out his wide receivers for the poor offensive play? Listen up.
There were some things, and there were some times where we weren't open. So it's a combination of the two, right? So it's, again, never one thing. And I'm not really into yards. I'm into real yards in the meat of the game and moving the football. And we didn't do a good enough job there.
The Patriots are tied for a league best 8 wins on the season. Oh, lovely. Music to my ears. The Patriots are 8-2 after defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Let's listen up to Bob Sosi and Scott Zolak on 98.5, the Sports Hub. They had the play-by-play of the last touchdown for the Pats. This was Travion Henderson, who said game, set, match.
Henderson has it. Travion gets outside. Goodbye to the 50, to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, to the house. Touchdown, Patriots. There's your ball game.
8-2, baby. Start the buses. We're coming back home on a short week. We need some sleep tonight. But we ain't getting any. Because sleep's for losers. We said that before, and we are back, man. 8-2. Man, 11 straight weeks grinding, fighting, scratching. And the rookie bounces it outside. Nobody home. Bucs in an all-out blitz, trying to get everybody uptight. And I don't blame him. You just took it to the house, kid.
14 carries for Travion Henderson, 147 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Tony Romo on CBS doing the game. He says the Patriots are DTF. Now, that means to me down to a word that begins with an F and rhymes with truck. But Tony Romo meant it in a different way. Listen up.
Fundamentally sound. This team is DTF, Jim. Patriots details toughness and they finish. That's my moniker.
That sounds very close to what Vrabel tells him too.
He says that
too.
I
think the T might be technique for him, but it's all good.
I wonder if Jim Nantz in the moment knows what DTF means. I just truly wonder that. And Tony Romo is saying the team is DTF. And what he said, defense, toughness, and fundamentals, I believe it was. My, oh my. The Jaguars blew a game to the Texans. Davis Mills at the end of the game runs into the end zone, and then Trevor Lawrence just had a horrible turnover at the end of the game. Nate Burleson on CBS afterwards, he asked, did the Jaguars want to move on from Trevor Lawrence?
There are some questions about a handful of quarterbacks. Will or won't they be there on the roster? But Trevor Lawrence, we have been wondering for quite some time, who is he? This was a big game. They needed this one. 13 for 23, under 200 yards, one touchdown, 1 pick. It's just tough to see this organization moving forward with a guy that they may not be 100% confident in.
I wouldn't be 100% confident in Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence, he's such a bust. And I understand when you say biggest bust of all time, you will think of Jamarcus Russell. Sorry, Stu. You'll think of Ryan Leaf, right? You'll think of Trey Lance. Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't been a complete disaster, but this guy was heralded as a generational talent. And he's been below average as an NFL quarterback. You know, he made the playoffs that one year. They won a playoff game, right? They had that crazy comeback up against the Chargers. But next year, the dead cap for Trevor Lawrence is $116 million. So will you probably run it back with Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence for next year? Sure. But after that, you know, the dead cap goes down to $65 million in 2027. And that's why I sat there when Tua and Trevor Lawrence both got their contracts. And I said it's a massive mistake to rush to the front of the line to pay both those guys because they haven't accomplished enough yet in the NFL. All righty, the Cincinnati Bengals. I wasn't expecting this news today, but we were waiting to see when Joe Burrow could come back. The Bengals, they lost their last 2 games up against the Jets and the Bears. They were off this past week. They beat the Steelers. They were 3-4. Then they lost those 2 games to the Jets and the Bears. Now they're sitting at 3-6. Well, Joe Burrow is trying to come on back. This according to Ian Rappaport. Joe Burrow's returning to practice a little under 2 months after toe surgery. Burrow's practice has his practice window open and will be limited. He's still on injured reserve, so now he has 21 days to be activated. So there is a potential December return for one Joe Burrow. Now, he has 21 days. So they play the Steelers coming up. They're at Pittsburgh on November 16th. They're then playing the Patriots on November 23rd. They have a short week up against the Ravens on November 27th. So maybe that's the return. At the bare minimum, if he is going to return, it would be at the Buffalo Bills on December 7th. Let's listen up. Joe Burrow did speak to reporters today. Is he targeting a Thanksgiving return up against the Ravens?
You determined to play this year, and do wins and losses leading up to when you could play matter?
Yeah, we'll see how these next couple weeks go. You know, there's a lot that goes into it. Like you said, there's a lot of variables that you have to consider, and we're just going to see how these next couple weeks go, see how it feels.
How tough would that be to be potentially fully healthy, but still not, hold yourself back from not playing, given all the work you've taken to get ready to this point?
Yeah, we'll see how the next couple weeks go, see how it feels, and make a decision. Like I said, a lot of variables that are going to go into this, and the number one is how it's feeling and in my health. So we'll just take it day by day like we have been throughout the rehab process.
Given your history in Baltimore, being a division game, to come back for that game.
Very.
Is that your target?
We'll see. We'll see how these next couple weeks go.
December 1st would be 21 days from today. What could they look like, even if he's back at Baltimore on Thanksgiving night? They play the Steelers and the Patriots. They'll probably lose at least one of those games. So even if they split, they'd be sitting there at 4-7, and then you basically have to win out, and it still may not be good enough to make the playoffs. You do have to wonder if it's even worth it. Can the Bengals still make the playoffs this year? Let's listen up to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, our division is wide open. I think Pittsburgh's 5-4 at this point. We play them this week. So, everything is still there in front of us. It's very rare that our division looks like this, but it does this year. And so, I think we'll be at least in it until the end.
Is it fair to say with the wild cards that the best path forward would be winning the North?
I think it would be very difficult for us to be a wild card team at this point. Obviously, a lot of football to be played, but I think that's difficult. I think our best path would be win the division.
Patriots, Bills, probably 2 playoff teams. Colts going to make the playoffs. Broncos going to make the playoffs. Chargers going to make the playoffs. I'd still probably say the Chiefs make the playoffs. So there could be another wild card spot up for grabs, but it's probably unlikely. So, yeah, your best bet is to win the division because then you're guaranteed a spot. If not, then it's a wild card, and there could be a potential spot open right there. Right now, I'd say Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, Colts, Patriots, Bills, and then, it's your one division winner in the AFC North. So there's probably not a wild card spot open. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll come on back. We'll do a little onside offside next when we return in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, away we go. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. It is a Monday, each and every Monday and Friday on this show. Stu and Samter compile some questions. I give you some answers. We call that segment Onside Offside, and we get it going in 3, 2, and 1.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All righty, Stu, what do we got cooking?
Oh, right. So the Lions, they crushed the Commanders yesterday to improve to 6-3 and now sit at just a half game behind the Packers in the NFC North. Before the game, it was revealed that head coach Dan Campbell was taking over play calling from offensive coordinator John Morton after the team averaged just 21 points a game in their previous 3 contests, and Campbell explained the situation.
I just wanted to change it up a little bit. Let's just see if maybe a different play caller can maybe get us a little rhythm. That's all. And it honestly is nothing more than that. I know you're probably going to want to ask questions about, well, what about this, or I heard this. It's not that. This was a change. We made a change. It was good for today.
Onsides, offsides, the Lions miss Ben Johnson.
I'm going offside on this one because even though Dan Campbell had to call the plays yesterday, they're still 6th in the league in offense. So am I going to sit here and say, oh, their offense has been a disaster this year and this team's not going to go where they're supposed to go because Ben Johnson's no longer the offensive coordinator? I'm not willing to say that. In an ideal world, you'd like to keep all your coordinators. So do they miss him in some aspects? Yes. But is it to a point where the Lions are going to fold because they no longer have Ben Johnson? That's the way that I'm at least interpreting the intent behind this question. I'm going to say absolutely not. I'm going to go offsides on that one.
Offside.
Now, Stu, entertain me here.
Okay.
The Lions have the 6th best offense in football in terms of yards per game. Do you think you can name the other 5 teams? If you just have to throw some teams out there.
All right, let's go with the Rams.
The Rams would be 5th.
Let's go with the Colts.
The Colts would be 1.
All right, let's go with the Buccaneers.
No.
Okay, let's go with the
2, 3, and 4 are interesting.
Patriots.
No. 2 NFC teams, 1 AFC team.
How about the Bears?
The Bears are 3rd.
Yeah,
Good one.
wow.
I didn't think you'd get that one, especially because it doesn't feel like the Bears have the 3rd best offense in the NFL in terms of yards per game. So you're missing 2 and 4.
Ooh, Bills?
Bills are 2.
Right. And there's another NFC team you said.
Yes, another NFC team. Their offense has been really good. Their defense has been not.
Cowboys.
Yes. Good job there, Stewie. Nice job. Colts 1, Bills 2, Bears 3, Cowboys 4, Rams 5, Lions 6. Wrapping up the top 10, Chiefs 7, Chargers 8, Seahawks 9, Green Bay 10. The Patriots are 11th and the 49ers are 12th. Denver's 13. The Giants are 14. We just got rid of Brian Daboll today. And then I'll give you a 15 team. The Houston Texans. All righty. Go ahead, Stu.
All right, staying in the North, the Bears won their 2nd straight thanks to a thrilling 24-20 comeback win over Russell Wilson and the Giants. This after Jackson Dart exited in the 3rd quarter. The Bears outscored the Giants 17-3, including 2 clutch drives by Caleb Williams, a 91-yarder, and a game-winning 53-yard drive that ended in a Williams 17-yard touchdown run. The former number 1 pick now has 16 total touchdowns and 4 picks on the season, and 36 touchdowns to 10 picks in his 2 years in the league so far. Onsides, offsides, Caleb Williams will be a consistent top 7 quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not willing to go that far. Does he have potential to be a good quarterback? Yes, in the league. Do I think he's going to be teetering on that elite level? I'm not ready to go there. So he will consistently be a top 7 quarterback in the NFL. Allen's not going anywhere. Mahomes is not going anywhere. Just for starters, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, like those are 4 right there. Jalen Hurts, I'd still throw in that mix. Drake May now. I'd rather be Drake May than Caleb Williams, if I'm just being honest. Could a Herbert be in that fold? Did Dak be in that fold? Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, right? Like, there's just quarterbacks that are out there. I think that he could be a top 10. Am I willing to say top 7 right now? I got to see this over the course of an entire season. He was fine last year. Now let's see how he handles the next 2 months of the season, even though it's been more encouraging than discouraging for the Bears this year. But will Caleb Williams be a consistent top 7 quarterback in the NFL? I'm not ready to go there, so I will go offside.
Offside. After a fire sale at the deadline, it was clear that the Jets were tanking for the top pick. However, 2 kick return touchdowns saved Justin Fields' embarrassing first 3 quarters against the Browns, in which he went 5 of 10 for 12 yards passing, and the Jets won their second straight to drop from the number 1 pick all the way down to 6. Onsides, offsides, it's better for the Jets to win and build momentum for Aaron Glenn than to have a top 5 pick.
It's weird because I could answer this question both ways. You almost want to just be competitive and lose, but you're then playing the sloppy Browns, so you almost have to win that game. I think because they have all those resources where they have 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years, that it is okay with the amount of picks that you compiled to win a game like that up against Cleveland. And let's be real. Just because you have the number 1 overall pick doesn't mean that you're going to end up getting the better quarterback. Right? I've been in that spot where my football team, the Patriots, technically got the 3rd quarterback in that draft. I know Jaden Daniels was awesome last year. Caleb Williams went before him. You just never know. So I'm not saying you want to go win 8 games at the end of the season down the stretch that way. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But I think a win like that, it doesn't make people... It holds off a little bit of people questioning the head football coach, who has been questioned a lot. If they lose that game to Cleveland yesterday, even though it was wild how they won it, then people are back to questioning if Aaron Glenn is the right guy. So it's better for the Jets to win and build momentum for Aaron Glenn than to have a top 5 pick. I would say the way that they won yesterday, I would go on sides on that.
Another team that is vying for that top pick, the New Orleans Saints, and many believe that they will be focused on a quarterback. However, second-round pick Tyler Shuck won his first NFL career start, leading New Orleans to a 17-7 win over the Red Hot Panthers, completing 70% of his passes.
You call them the Fugazi Panthers. They're 5-5. Oh, Bryce Young this. Bryce Young looked incredible yesterday. Let me tell you that, right? Rico Dowdle can't run the ball. The next thing you know, Bryce Young looks absolutely lost.
So a 70% completion percentage, 282 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Shuck. Onsides, offsides, the Saints should see what they have in Shuck rather than taking a quarterback in the first round.
I think it depends what Shuck does in the next 2 months. If Shuck looks like the Shuck that he did yesterday, then I think you say in a quarterback draft where you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, it's probably the 3 quarterbacks are Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and Dante Moore. Can your guy be just as good as any of those 3? Arguably, if he plays well down the stretch the final 2 months. So I ultimately think it depends how he plays in the next 2 months of the season. I'm still going to say even though it was good up against the Panthers, at the end of the season, you're not sitting there with rave reviews about Tyler Shuck. So that's how I'm going to operate it and say the Saints should see what they have in Shuck rather than take a quarterback in the first round. For now, I'm going to go offside just because I'm not sold that Tyler Shuck is going to be this great quarterback. But he's someone that his biggest flaw has been health and just not staying healthy. So if he stays healthy and keeps on playing like he did yesterday, then I could change my opinion on that. But right now, I'm still going to operate that he isn't the guy, so I'll go offsides.
Offsides.
The Texans started the season 0-3, but have won 4 of their last 6 to improve to 4-5, thanks to their improbable comeback over the Jaguars yesterday. Davis Mills was excellent in the fourth quarter as C.J. Stroud sat with an injury as Houston moved up to 9th in the AFC, just 1 game back of the final playoff spot. Onsides, offsides, the Texans will make the playoffs.
Colts are going to win that division. Can they get a second team in there? It's going to be tough because I still think the Pats and the Bills are 2 teams from the AFC East. You have a North winner. The Colts will win the South. And then the West, I think you're sending 3 teams with the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. So it's going to be tough if you don't win that division. I think that division is going to be almost impossible to win with you sitting at 4-5 right now if you're a Texans fan. And the Colts, they just picked up, their 8th win of the season, I believe, right? The Colts are sitting there 8-2. So they play Tennessee, the Texans. They play Buffalo in a short week. Then they're at Indy. They're at Kansas City. Arizona, the Raiders, easy. But then they're at the Chargers and the Colts to end the year. I think they'll make it like the Bengals last year, where they'll put lipstick on the pig and they'll just miss out in the postseason. So when you ask me that the Texans will make the playoffs, I'm going offsides.
Offside.
USC improved to 7-2 and 5-1 in the Big Ten, thanks to a 38-17 win over Northwestern. In the game, the Trojans, they pulled off a sneaky move, listing third-string quarterback Sam Heward with the same number as the team's punter. And with the game tied at 7 in the second quarter, and USC set the punt on 4th down, Heward came out pretending to be the punter and completed a first down pass to keep the drive alive and leading to a go-ahead touchdown. After the game, the Big Ten said that the play should have been penalized since two players can't have the same number at the same position. Onside offsides, you're okay with the trick play that USC ran.
Is Sam Heward related to Damon Heward? Just wondering, the former Patriot.
I thought the same thing when I saw the name.
Isn't there also
There's a Brock and a Damon.
Brock? They're brothers. Damon Heward used to come on with us all the time. Former Patriot backup quarterback. So I'm just curious.
He's the son of Damon Heward.
Oh, is he really?
Wow.
Brock is his uncle.
Well, so before the game, he's listed on the depth chart as number 80, and in college you could have players wearing the same numbers. I think that's almost impossible to do. The guy sitting out there, he's the punter. The punter wears 80 and the backup quarterback wears 80. I understand that that's the way that that seems slimy to me. It does. And that's the lows that stinking Lincoln has to fall to try to win some games at USC. So am I okay with the trick play that USC ran? I'm not. I will go offsides on that.
Offside. After Brian Kelly was fired by LSU, reports said that the team and Kelly were negotiating a settlement on his massive $54 million buyout. However, Kelly's legal team notified the school that he expects the full compensation, which would pay out monthly until 2031, minus any future coaching salary. Onsides, offsides, Kelly wanting the full buyout is a sign that he doesn't intend on returning to coaching anytime soon.
I think this is just a legal mess because there's a lot of rumors. I don't know what innuendo is true or not with morality clauses here and things that Brian Kelly may or may not have done, which none of that has been verified. So I'm not going to continue to speculate on that. But I don't think that means that he doesn't intend to coach again. I think he believes that he's entitled to the full buyout. And ultimately, I do think with the way that an ego works like it does for Brian Kelly, that he will be coaching in some capacity somewhere else. I don't know if that's going to be this upcoming season. Maybe he's just going to go to do TV, but I think he felt as if he got screwed by LSU, which is laughable. He just didn't win enough football games. So Kelly wanted the full buyout. Has decided he doesn't intend on returning to coaching anytime soon. I don't think so. I think he just wants to stick it to LSU with his old Tiger family. So I will go offsides.
Offsides. Oregon dropped one spot from number 6 to number 7 despite a road win against number 20 Iowa. However, the Ducks offense struggled and needed a last-second 39-yard field goal to pull out the win. Dante Moore, once a Heisman favorite, went his second straight game without a touchdown and now has 4 interceptions in his last 4 games. Onsides, offsides, you no longer believe Oregon is a legitimate title contender.
That's a good question. They didn't have Ja'Cory Moore in that game. I thought they would at least cover the spread up against Iowa, and for a while it looked like they were going to do so, and then how somehow Iowa put the ball in the end zone towards the end of regulation, and then Oregon found a way to go win it on a field goal, not getting that 2-point conversion was something that I didn't think it was a catch with the way he was sliding, but with how the cameras were just filled with rain, I don't know how they determined that. So I'd be curious what replays they showed, because on TV we didn't see a good replay because the camera was so foggy because of the rain. But I look at Oregon as a team that's good. I think they have to show me that they can be a title contender. And once they lost that game to Indiana, I didn't think there was a game on their schedule the rest of the way where they could then make me say, okay, they're definitely a title contender. But remember, this is a team last year that was undefeated in the regular season, won the Big Ten championship, and they lost their first-round game. So ultimately, it's going to be in the postseason you can show me if you're a championship contender. But right now, I view teams like Alabama, A&M, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio State, right? Just those 5 off the top of my head in better position than Oregon. So I'm not going to say all 12 teams are title contenders, but it's going to be up to Oregon to prove to me that they could be a title contender. And so far, they showed me they have not. So you no longer believe Oregon is a legitimate title contender. I'm going to say on sides right now.
Over the weekend, Florida got crushed by Kentucky 38-7, while LSU fell to number 4 Alabama, and both starting quarterbacks were benched during those games. The Gators sat DJ Lagway after throwing 3 picks, while the Tigers replaced Garrett Nussmeier in the third. when they were down by just 11 points. Onside, offsides, DJ Lagway has been a bigger disappointment this year than Nussmeier.
I'm going to say offsides on this one, and here's why. Nussmeier at least played good at the quarterback position last year. I never thought the partnership heading into this year, Billy Napier and DJ Lagway, was going to work, even though it was working down the stretch of last season. I wasn't big on Florida heading into this year. So I can't say I'm totally shocked by the performance of DJ Lagway. But even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Nussmeier, he's at least had some actual success in college, and it was the defense that kept on letting LSU down the last few years. So DJ Lagway's been a bigger disappointment than Nussmeier. I'm going to actually say it's Nussmeier this year, because I never thought the reason why LSU would stink this year would be because of their offense. I thought it was going to be the defense, and it's actually been the opposite. So I'm going to go offsides on that one.
Offside.
Think about it, though, this year. You've had DJ Lagway bench, Garrett Nussmeier bench. You've had Cade Klubnik and Clemson not live up to the hype. There's just so many stories in college football.
Lenore Seller struggling.
Yeah, that's a great one. With South Carolina not even being in the playoff mix. You've already had LSU fire their coach. You've already had Penn State, right, with Drew Allen. I know he's out for the year, fire their coach. And then the quarterback is lost for the season with a terrible injury. It's just amazing. Florida with Napier out. I can't say I'm stunned by that. But it's amazing how many jobs that have been open. And what's the one I'm missing too? Brian Kelly. You have James Franklin out. You have Billy Napier. And there was and then Auburn. Well, that was, I thought Hugh Freeze was going to get fired before the start of the season. But it's amazing how many changes we've seen across the board and how many teams just haven't lived up to the hype. And here we are with a few weeks left in the season. And this has been one of the craziest college football seasons I've ever seen. And I don't think anyone can tell me how it's going to end, if I'm just being honest.
Well, how about in the ACC? They had a rough week as the two top teams in the conference, number 14 Virginia and number 15 Louisville, both lost to unranked teams. While Georgia Tech was off, number 18 Miami steamrolled Syracuse 38-10, and the two teams moved up to number 14 and number 16 respectively. Onsides, offsides, you have more faith in the Yellow Jackets in the playoff than you do the Canes.
In the college football playoff?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think there's a better path for Georgia Tech to get there than Miami. Miami right now has 2 conference losses. Sitting there with 1 conference loss is Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pitt, SMU, and Duke. And even technically, Louisville, although they have 2 conference losses, since they're 4-2, Miami's 3-2, for the chase of the ACC that's only going to put 1 team in, Louisville is ranked now better than Miami in terms of the standings. So I would say Georgia Tech with Haynes King, I'll rely on them more than Miami if one can make the playoff over the other. So I would go onsides on that one.
All right, last one here. It was a big week for the group of 5 teams as the highest ranked team, Memphis, out of the American, they lost their second game, falling to 7-2 against Tulane. Now the highest ranked team is surprisingly the Sun Belt's James Madison, who are now 8-1 and up to number 24 in the AP poll, with their only loss coming at Louisville. Onsides, offsides, James Madison will be the group of 5 representative in the college football playoffs.
I still think it's going to be the American Athletic Conference. Now, they just lost Memphis. Memphis did go down. So USF could actually be the representative tomorrow night. It could be North Texas. Now, North Texas has 1 loss. USF has 2 losses. But USF just boat raced North Texas a few weeks ago. Like on Tuesday, this I think it's going to go. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Alabama will be 1, 2, 3, 4, respectively. They'll be on byes. I think Georgia will be your 5th. Ole Miss will be your 6th. Texas Tech will be your 7th. Oregon will be your 8th. Notre Dame will be your 9th. Texas will be your 10th. I think Georgia Tech will be your 11th, getting in for the ACC spot. And then your 12th spot, the G5 spot, I think it's either going to be USF or North Texas. So it would be either USF and North Texas going up against Georgia, Georgia Tech at Ole Miss, Texas at Texas Tech, Notre Dame at Oregon will be your matchups come Tuesday. So James Madison will be the group of 5 representative of the college football playoff. I think tomorrow it's still going to be the American Athletic Conference. So I will go offsides there.
Offside.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show right here, Infinity Sports Network. We will take a timeout. When we come on back, we will do an update in the NFC West. We could forget about the Arizona Cardinals, but when you look at the other 3 teams, the Seahawks rolled the Cardinals. The Rams defeated the 49ers. What's going to be the future of Brock Purdy? Is he going to be coming back and playing in the 49ers next game? Is Matthew Stafford the MVP right now? And how seriously should we view the Seahawks, and how far are you willing to go with Seattle? We'll get into all those in NFC West update next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So the Seahawks dominated the Cardinals yesterday. No surprise. The Rams, they get revenge up against the Niners as the Niners beat the Rams the last time those two teams played on that short week on a Thursday night. But afterwards, there's a lot of questions about the 49ers and the quarterback position. So I look at those questions, and it's been mysterious with this turf toe and all that stuff with Brock Purdy on when Brock Purdy is going to come back. Remember, he was injured, missed some time, came back for that game up against the Jaguars, and then we haven't seen him since. But Mac Jones wasn't the reason why they lost yesterday. Mac Jones this season is actually completing 69.6% of his passes, has 13 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. He's been efficient. He's been good. And yesterday, he was 33 of 39 for 319 yards. He completed 84.5% of his passes, had 3 touchdowns and an interception. And the interception came at the end of the game when he forced the throw, and the game was practically out of reach anyway. So I don't look at yesterday and say that's on Mac Jones. And quite frankly, the Niners are sitting there at 6-4 with an abundance of injuries. And I know how this is going to go. You're going to see when they're next out on the field, which is this upcoming Sunday at Arizona, you're going to see Brock Purdy play. Because at this point, it's like, okay, you just lost. The last 4 games, you're 2-2. The last 5, you're 2-3. They're going to go back to Brock Purdy. But if it's based on merit, Mac Jones should be playing and starting at quarterback up against the Arizona Cardinals. But you know that the 49ers just gave a lucrative contract this past offseason to Brock Purdy. So that's going to be the dilemma. Do you continue to play Mac Jones or do you go back to Brock Purdy? I think you'll follow the Benjamins on this one. Now, I will say there was a time, and I know it's completely different, and you can't use this as the end-all be-all, but there was a time that the Patriots gave a record-breaking contract to some guy named Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Tom Brady played okay enough. They continued to go with Brady over Bledsoe, and then ultimately that Brady fella, he won the Patriots a Super Bowl that year. Now, Mac Jones has been in the league longer, but I don't think Mac Jones wasn't a success in the league because of his own fault in New England. He made the playoffs his first year in New England. Then after that, and that was a bad roster, Bill Belichick thought you could hire Joe Judge and Matt freaking Patricia to run the offensive side of the ball and then give Mac Jones no talent. Now, last year, Mac Jones was in Jacksonville. He was used as the backup quarterback. But I think him landing in San Francisco is actually the perfect spot for him because Brock Purdy, right now, he got hurt. But if you recall going back to that draft when the Patriots got Mac Jones, a lot of people thought when Kyle Shanahan traded up to get that 3rd overall pick with John Lynch, Chris Sims, Shanahan's best buddy, he was saying that Shanahan was targeting Mac Jones. And eventually, I think we all realized that he got talked into Trey Lance. So I do believe that Kyle Shanahan has a love for Mac Jones, but he also has a love for Brock Purdy. But what ultimately determines things in this league? Money, dinero, the Benjamins, the straight cash homie, the moolah. So that's why Brock Purdy, in all likelihood, is going to return next week. It's not because Mac Jones wasn't good enough. Mac Jones has been playing, good football. He's been really solid at the quarterback position. And he wasn't the reason why they lost yesterday. But money's going to dictate this move, not merit. Because merit, Mac Jones should keep on playing. This is a money over merit type of situation. And I would continue to rock and roll with Mac Jones. And I said this from early on in the season. Mac Jones is proving, even though Brock Purdy has been to a Super Bowl, even though that Brock Purdy's been to an additional NFC championship game, that Brock Purdy, if you ask me, is he more of a system quarterback or a franchise quarterback? I think he's more of a system quarterback. And Mac Jones has proven that even in a year where the system hasn't even been fully loaded with the weapons that they have. Like, sure, McCaffrey's still there. Kittle's still there. The wide receivers have been in and out of the lineup. And there's been injuries all across the board with San Francisco. But let's listen up. This is Kyle Shanahan on the Brock Purdy injury.
At some point, do you just have to play him knowing that he's not going to be 100%?
Yes, it depends on how close to 100% he gets. Our dilemma, or what we're trying not to do, is put him out in the situation we did versus Jacksonville 5 weeks ago or 6, whatever it was. So I do believe he's closer and further along than what he was at that time. So hopefully he'll have a chance this week.
And let's hear George Kittle. Did he know how good Mac Jones was when the 49ers acquired him?
No, I did not. Nope, I did not. Nope. It's awesome. What a hell of a football player. I get why he was a first-round draft pick. Like, he is playing really well. He's not, like, dangerous with the football either. Like, he makes good throws. He forces a couple of, once in a while, but he's doing a great job. Like, our offense isn't an easy offense for a quarterback. Like, I think for Mac to come in and just, like, take control of the offense and play at a high level consistently, it's awesome. And it makes me really happy because I'm a huge fan of Mac Jones. He's hilarious. And I love playing football with him because you can tell he really loves the game.
Here's the thing. If they went off of merit and not money, this would be the Niners' biggest fear. And this is why they're going to play Brock Purdy as soon as they can, and Brock Purdy probably will be playing at the Cardinals this week. It's because you look at their schedule the rest of the way. If Mac Jones takes this team to the playoffs and Mac Jones continues to play well, people are going to say, well, the Niners, it's a system quarterback kind of sport with them for that team. So why did we pay Brock Purdy all that money? But look at their schedule the rest of the way. At Arizona, the Panthers, at the Browns, the Titans, at the Colts, and the Bears. The Colts and the Bears are their toughest games remaining on the schedule. So even if Brock Purdy's not 100%, they're going to play him this week because then he's at Arizona, and then he plays the Panthers, and then he's at the Browns. Those should be 3 easy wins. But can you imagine if they drop one of those games? Can you imagine if they put Brock Purdy out there at Arizona after Arizona just got annihilated by the Seahawks and Arizona beats the 49ers? But they're going to give Brock Purdy this soft landing spot. So I don't think Brock Purdy's a bad quarterback, let me be clear. You could craft an argument in saying Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback in this league. But if you threw Brock Purdy on, I don't know, the Jets, or I don't know, some of these other teams, the Raiders, do I think Brock Purdy's this awesome, highly compensated quarterback? No. Same thing for Mac Jones, right? He got thrown out of New England. If you put him on the Jets, or if you put him on the Browns, or if you put him on the Raiders, he'd be a bad quarterback. But in San Francisco, it's more the system. So I think their biggest fear right now, the 49ers, is looking at this and saying, oh, what happens if Mac Jones continues to keep this ship from sinking? Well, then we're going to look like dummies because we just paid Brock Purdy a king's ransom. So I think that's a big part of the conversation. Now, the Rams, their defense looks so damn good. And that Rams offense, too, so damn good. They're a reason why I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl last year. And Stafford's playing some of the best football in the league. He leads the league in passing touchdowns. Puka Nacua is a stud. Goodbye, Cooper Kupp. They upgraded at the position, bringing in Devontae Adams. Kyron Williams is, I know he had some fumbling problems, but he had a good game yesterday. I look at the Rams, as long as they stay healthy, there's not a flaw with this football team. And they're sitting there at 7-2. 7-2. And they got some big games coming up on their schedule. Seattle, the Buccaneers. Then they play the Panthers, the Cardinals. You can forget about those two. But then the Lions, the Seahawks. And they wrap up the season with the Falcons and the Cardinals. Like, there are some good games on the Rams' schedule. But the Rams are so close to leaving Philadelphia last year in the snow with the victory. And if they would have done so, they would have been off to the NFC title game. So with McVay, with Verse, with Turner, with Young on the defensive side of the ball, with Fisk, that defense is damn good. And we know what their offense is capable of. But then I get to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks may be the team that, or not that I'm most impressed by in the NFL this year, but they're in that conversation. Because when Sam Darnold elected to go over to the Seattle Seahawks, I said to myself, all right, they got rid of Lockett, they got rid of Metcalf. Yeah, sure, Jackson Smith and Jigba is a stud, but is there enough there on offense for Sam Darnold to look like Minnesota Sam Darnold, where he had Justin Jefferson, he had Jordan Addison, he had TJ Hawkinson, he had Aaron Jones, and Sam Darnold's been really damn good this year. Top 10 in passing yards, top 10 in passing touchdowns. Like, Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. But Mike McDonald is one of the most underrated coaches in the league, had a good season last year, was 10-7 in his first year, and this year they're sitting there at 7-2 right now, and they'll be in the postseason. But that front in Seattle, that defense, man, that's really something special. So I look at the NFC West, the 49ers, they should make the postseason, but Brock Purdy better be good when he comes back. Because if he doesn't play well, then those fans are going to say, why not Mac Jones? Mac Jones is giving you more good efforts than bad efforts. But the Rams and the Seahawks are clearly, in my opinion, those are two dangerous teams. Like you look at the NFC, the Lions are inconsistent. The Eagles haven't looked all like that. The Packers haven't looked all like that. The Seahawks and Rams don't give you too many bad games. And one of the Rams' losses was to Philadelphia. I get that, but they blew that big lead. Like the Rams I knew going into the season had a legitimate shot to get to the Super Bowl. If you would have told me the Seahawks to get to the Super Bowl before the start of the season, I'd say, what are you sniffing? Now, there's ultimately a big game question with Sam Darnold. He had an unbelievable season last year, and then he bleeped the bed down the stretch up against the Lions and then the Rams in the postseason. But there is intrigue. There are questions that now are being asked. Can the Seahawks get to the Super Bowl? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you no, and I'm not going to dismiss it 10 weeks into the season. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll talk some college football. Studs and Duds also coming your way at the top of the hour at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, who protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today, progressivecommercial.com. Brian Daboll was done in by a third straight 2-8 start. Yesterday, the final straw. The Giants fired their head coach after his team blew a fourth double-digit lead on the road this season. Offensive coordinator Mike Kafka takes over in the interim. GM Joe Shane remains at the moment and will lead the search for the next head coach. The Commanders' struggling defense now in the hands of Dan Quinn, who stripped the play-calling duties from Joe Witt. Joe Burrow is back to practice. The 21-day window opened after he's been out with turf toe, suffered in Week 2. Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson on the shelf again, suffering a sprained knee. Yesterday, he'll miss 3 to 4 weeks, while Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton was diagnosed with testicular cancer last week and underwent surgery Friday. He said his prognosis is excellent. The Packers host the Eagles in a rematch of last year's playoff game won by Philly at 5-2-1. The Pack looking to keep sole possession of the top spot in the NFC North, while the Eagles are one of 4 teams in the NFC at 6-2. The Pistons have won 8 of their first 10 and lead the East. They'll host the 1-9 Wizards tonight. Houston, the new number 1 team in the nation in the AP Top 25. I'm Rich Akron.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Square. More than 4 million neighborhood businesses run on Square. To learn more, go to square.com or just stop by your favorite local business. See you in the neighborhood. Square. The Packers and Eagles square off tonight on Monday Night Football. Philly is 6-2 on the season and winners of 2 straight games. The Packers, meanwhile, are 5-2-1, coming off a loss to the Panthers last week. Let's take a look back at college football from this weekend. So all throughout the year, I've been saying to myself, inside the Big Ten and inside the SEC, it feels like the championship game in an ideal world to me. I like to see the best of the Big Ten up against the best of the SEC, but we don't know if that's going to be the way that it breaks down. But up until this weekend, I really haven't considered any team outside of an SEC team or a Big Ten team in terms of winning the national championship. I will consider 2 after this weekend. And one I still need to see more of, but I thought they had a chance before the year, and now there's a good chance if they win this weekend that they'll be back in the college football playoff. But I'll get to that team in just a second. But how about Texas Tech? You know, it's one thing to be a massive favorite. And at one point last week, they were a 10.5-point favorite. They got up to a 13.5-point favorite up against BYU. And when the number gets that big up against an undefeated BYU at the time, it's almost as if I'm sitting there saying, what does Vegas know? Because, right, it's so disrespectful to BYU to be a 13.5-point dog. Well, it ended up covering as BYU won or lost the game 29-7. And Texas Tech, for the rest of the season, they play UCF and West Virginia. So UCF is sitting there 4-5. West Virginia, Rich Rod being back, they're 4-6. And I know they beat Houston 2 weeks ago, who was in the top 25 for a bit. But Texas Tech, in all likelihood, right, they will be 11-1 going into the Big 12 championship game. You just can't afford to lose in the Big 12 championship game. But their only loss of the season was Arizona State. And they only lost that game by 4 points. So Texas Tech was one of those teams with Joey McGuire that they had all this hype going into the year with all the players that they have on the offensive side of the ball. Dickey was tremendous in that game up against BYU. But the defense is a story. Rodriguez is one of the best stories in the country. What this kid's been able to do, it is unbelievable when you look at Jacob Rodriguez. This guy was at West Virginia. He was at, Virginia. He walked on to the football team. He was there a scholarship at Virginia as a quarterback. For whatever reason, went into the transfer portal and then had to walk on to Texas Tech. Walk on. He was sleeping on his brother's apartment floor just to get through school. And then he eventually got a scholarship. He was moved to the defensive side of the ball. And now this guy's getting talked about as a Heisman Trophy candidate. It is an unbelievable. And his counterpart, Bailey, on the defense, that kid's going to be a top 15, top 20 pick in the NFL draft. So Texas Tech, they could win a national championship. I'm still in the line of thinking that the SEC or the Big Ten, one of the teams from the SEC, one of the teams from the Big Ten will end up winning the national championship this year. But if you're telling me, Zach, it's not a Big Ten school, it's not an SEC school that wins it all, Texas Tech would be my first choice. And then, Stu, I'm wondering where you're at with your football team in Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame, if you're telling me an SEC school or a Big Ten school will not win the national championship, and then I tell you, and then I say, okay, Texas Tech would be my first pick, but then you tell me, oh, Texas Tech, let's say they lose in the Big 12 championship game and then get held out of the college football playoff. After that, I would go with Notre Dame. CJ Carr is a big-time quarterback. And I understand they lost to Miami to start the year by 3 points. I still don't understand why Miami didn't run the football more with Jeremiah Love in that one. That actually could be the thing I'm most pissed off about in this college football season. In terms where I was just dumbfounded while watching a game, how Miami was going up against, how Notre Dame was going up against Miami, and they barely gave the football to Jeremiah Love. And then Texas A&M is undefeated. They're arguably one of the best teams in the country, and you lost to them by 1 point. Now, since then, has Notre Dame played a great team? No. They beat Purdue 56-30. They beat Arkansas 56-13. They stomped Boise State as well, 28-7. They beat NC State 36-7. They beat USC by 10 points. They beat Boston College by 25-10. Horvath got hurt. They didn't even play in that game for Navy. And Notre Dame beat Navy 49-10. Now, you look at the schedule for Notre Dame, it's a big one this weekend as they're at Pitt. And Pitt's playing really good football. They're making a late push in the ACC. I thought Pitt was one of the most underrated teams in the country this year heading into the season, and Pitt got off to a bad start. But now Pitt's back. And I can't wait for this game, 12 p.m. Eastern time, coming up on Saturday. And if Notre Dame wins that game, they're going back to the college football playoff because they should beat Syracuse. They should beat Stanford. And there's no conference championship game for Notre Dame, so Notre Dame's got to win out. But this is a playoff week. But if it's not Texas Tech, and if it's not a Big Ten school, if it's not an SEC winning at all, then it has to be Notre Dame would be my second pick. Where are you at with Notre Dame, Stu? How much of a legitimate national championship contender do you think they are? And this is a team last year that had that terrible loss to NIU. Then they went on that run, didn't lose another game. And the next thing you know, after they beat, it was Indiana. They then beat Georgia. Then they beat Penn State. And they ultimately lost to the national champs in the Ohio State Buckeyes.
I feel pretty good. I think if they get in, it's a very outside shot. There's a chance they could host, but they'll probably be 9. So they'll probably go on the road to Oregon or Texas Tech. But I think they're a team that can make a deep run. I would not be shocked if they reach the Final Four. I don't know if they can win it all. I don't know if they're that good, but I think they can make a Final Four run.
And their defense is clearly not as good as it was last year, this year, even though the defense has found a groove. But let's see what they do up against better competition. That's going to be the unknown. But offensively,
better than last year.
Carr is better than Riley Leonard. You have Jeremiah Love, who's a stud. Jadarian Price could be a number one in basically like almost every other school in the country. It's that offense, even with the defense not as good, that offense is going to travel wherever because they can run the football. And the quarterback is really damn good. And I like the coach. So if you're telling me, Zach, hitch your wagon to two teams that are in the SEC or the Big Ten to win it all, it'd be Texas Tech and it would be Notre Dame. Now, Heisman update. I am a Heisman Trophy voter. As we sit here right now, I think the Heisman right now for the first and second spot, if I was voting tomorrow, would be between two people. Fernando Mendoza at Indiana and then also Ty Simpson. I think that would be 1 and 2 in some order. I do think Ohio State's going to have something to say about the Heisman Trophy. Julian Sayin is having such a special year, but I could see Jeremiah Smith taking some votes away from Julian Sayin. But if Ohio State wins out and they beat Michigan and they win the Big Ten championship, and let's say they beat Indiana in the Big Ten championship, you could see Sayin or Smith usurp Mendoza. But Mendoza, after the touchdown throw that he had and the unbelievable catch by Omar Cooper Jr. over the weekend, that was a huge national moment. But if Alabama wins the SEC, Ty Simpson will be right there as well. And you're going to think I'm crazy. I'm not going to say to win the award. But if Texas Tech wins the Big 12, that kid Jacob Rodriguez is going to get a lot of play. And maybe it's just in the moment, but that name has been really hot over the last 24 to 48 hours. But right now, I would venture to say for the Heisman race, and you only get 3 votes, that Mendoza, that Simpson are going to be on almost everyone's ballot. And then it's down to, do you either go with the quarterback Sayin or the wide receiver Smith from Ohio State? That's what I would say right now. But with that being said, the race for the Big Ten and the SEC championship game, in the Big Ten, it's simple. I want to see Indiana. I want to see Ohio State. Now, don't get me wrong. I would not mind seeing Ohio State lose the last week of the season because it would beat a Michigan. And as a Michigan supporter, I would love that. But if you're just asking me, Zach, take your bias out of it in terms of the matchup that you want to see, Indiana, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game would be sensational. It would be absolutely sensational. Now, in the SEC, it's going to be interesting because A&M is undefeated in conference play. Bama's undefeated in conference play. Then with 1 loss in conference play, Georgia 6-1 to Alabama. Ole Miss is 5-1. And then Texas is still alive at 4-1. Now, you look at those schedules. Georgia the rest of the way. Texas, Charlotte, Georgia Tech. So only 1 conference game remaining for Georgia. Ole Miss's conference games are Florida and Mississippi State. So we'll see if either one of those schools are going to get someone to crumble. A&M, I think A&M is going to be undefeated at the end of the regular season. I thought that a few weeks ago. They wrap up with South Carolina, Samford, and then Texas. So Texas is the biggie there. But then you look at Alabama. Alabama just keeps on finding a way. And Alabama, their schedule the rest of the way is Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois, and Auburn. So if Alabama beats Oklahoma this weekend, I think we're on that collision course to see Alabama up against A&M in the SEC title game. But that, conference championship game doesn't matter as much in this 12-team format anymore. If you give me conference championship weekend, Bama and A&M, and then Indiana up against Ohio State, we are winners as college football fans. Take a break. We'll do studs and duds on the other side. This is Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A busy, busy day. Giants have fired Brian Daboll. Joe Shane is going to stay as general manager. Who could be next? Kevin Stefanski, Raheem Morris. We'll get into that later. The Patriots are back. They're 8-2. They beat Tampa Bay. The Patriots could be rolling to a 12 or 13 win season. The Buffalo Bills lose to the Dolphins yesterday. It's looking like the Pats could definitely win the AFC East and the NFC West. The Rams beat up on the 49ers, but Mac Jones played well. Could we be seeing a quarterback change? Is Brock Purdy ready to come on back? By merit, I think Mac should stay, but ultimately I think money is going to prove to be the quarterback switch. And for San Francisco, they play the Cardinals this upcoming week. So I do believe that they're going to be going back to Brock Purdy. Matthew Stafford, along with Jonathan Taylor, Drake May, one of those guys are going to be MVP of the NFL, but the Rams continue to roll. Matthew Stafford does lead the league in passing touchdowns. Seahawks also, they dominated the Cardinals yesterday. You go around the rest of the NFL world, too. The Steelers just were terrible offensively last night with the putrid performance up against the Los Angeles Chargers. And then what a weekend in college football where Texas Tech smacked BYU. Fernando Mendoza and Indiana, they survive up against Penn State. The SEC and Big Ten title races, they are heating up as well. And it's been a tremendous season of college football. A lot of unknowns in college football, a lot of unknowns in the NFL. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting to see how the rest of this season is going to play on out. So as we do on a Monday, we do some studs and duds. Let's get that going right now.
On the Zach Gelb Show, we're looking for studs.
Back to pass. Bosa picked up. Deep shot. Jefferson. Yes!
But sometimes we have to tolerate the duds.
Mistake. Lamar takes the snap. Rolls to the right. Throws. Complete. No! Dropped it. Mark Andrews hit him in the head.
Now for the moment you've all been waiting for.
And here we go.
It's time for Studs and Duds.
Go Big Red! How about Emmett Johnson of the Nebraska Cornhuskers? He's the second leading rusher in the country, 1,131 rushing yards, but he did something over the weekend on Saturday night at the Rose Bowl up against UCLA that hasn't been done before this season. He had over 100 rushing yards in the game and over 100 receiving yards in the game. No player in college football this year, no FBS player this season has had 100 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards in the same game. Emmett Johnson, here's his numbers up against UCLA. TJ Lateef did a great job filling in for the injured Dylan Raiola, who's out for the season, as Nebraska beats UCLA 28-21. On the ground, Emmett Johnson, 129 rushing yards with the rushing score, and he also had 3 receptions for 103 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. And let's hear the final score of the game for Nebraska. It was a 40-yard touchdown catch. It was his 3rd touchdown of the game as Emmett Johnson found himself in the end zone once again.
At shotgun depth, takes a snap, play action fake, rolls right, looks left, throw back on the wheel route. Johnson's got it at the 22-20, 15-10. Johnson breaks a tackle. He's in. Touchdown, Huskers.
Stud.
Stu?
All right. It is not Amari Cooper, but it is Omar Cooper. Omar Cooper Jr., the Indiana wide receiver. He had 6 catches on the game in Indiana's win against Penn State, but it wasn't as easy as many expected against Penn State. Indiana trailed 24-20 in the 4th quarter, but Fernando Mendoza and the Hoosiers, that was a 10-play, 80-yard drive to win the game, which ended in this just tremendous pass to Omar Cooper, as heard by Gus Johnson on Fox.
In trouble! It's out! Touchdown! Omar Cooper! Unbelievable!
Stud.
Can I make an admission on this game? 2 things. Number 1, Omar Cooper Jr. Do we think he got 2 feet in? I know you only need 1, but I've watched this replay so many times. At first, I thought he caught the ball with the first look that I saw it. I'll tell you where I was when I saw that in just a second. That's the admission. But the first foot, whether it's down or not, I don't know. I think some angles I suggest to say that it was down. But the way that he kept that foot in the air to make sure the second foot got down is one of the great catches that you'll see. But do you think he got 2 feet in? I'm going to lean yes. But then I see some replays where I go, ooh, I really don't know if he got the first foot in.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those 50-50 ones, but I think he did as well.
Now, I get my back waxed 1 to 2 times a year. 1 to 2 times a year. I don't need to do it, but I just do it. So for some reason, I said, okay, I'll make a back wax appointment at 3:15 p.m. I thought to myself, right before the 3:30 games kick off, and literally, I don't have a lot of hair there. It takes 15 minutes. I'm in and out, and the place is a block from my apartment. So I have the game on my phone, and I'm watching it as they are waxing my back. And I'm sitting there, and you're really not supposed to move it. I'm like, oh my God, what a catch! And the lady who's waxing my back goes, what the heck are you watching? And I go, oh, it's Penn State, Indiana. It's a big game. So that's how I saw Omar Cooper Jr. I'll never forget it. I was getting my back waxed, and I was watching that game. Very manly thing that I was doing on a Saturday. All righty, Santa, what do you got?
I'm going to go Jacob Rodriguez. We did just talk about him very recently. The dude is an absolute beast. He's got 88 total tackles on the season. He leads the team with 48 solo tackles, and he leads the nation also in forced fumbles. This dude has forced 7 fumbles, which is absurd. And he also, of course, has 3 interceptions, including the incredible tip pass that we'll play here in a second. Texas Tech is 3rd in the nation in points allowed, 9th in the nation in yards allowed. That defense is just absolutely dominant. Him and Bailey are just 2 of the best, maybe the best duo on the defensive side in the entire country. I think that they need to get some recognition. Unfortunately, for the Heisman odds, he's not even listed because he's a defensive player, and that's just not how this award works. But he should. And here was a play where he not only made an incredible play, but he showed the voters, hey, pay attention.
That defense getting after Bachmeier, who escapes and throws an interception. Picked off by Rodriguez, and J-Rod, as they call him, trying to make him a Heisman candidate around here. Makes a big play. The first takeaway by this defense today. J-Rod, as they call him here, sets up this possession, tipping it, and then picking it off. And they've been chanting Heisman, Heisman around here. It's tough for a linebacker to get consideration, but you get caught up in it. Why not? Desmond is in the building, so go ahead, big guy.
Stud.
His wife is a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and the story of Jacob Rodriguez is just ridiculous. Forgetting his wife, who it's unbelievable in her own right, but he was a quarterback and offensive player at Virginia, then transfers, walks on to Texas Tech, is sleeping on his brother's floor. So he could pay the bills and make sure that he go to school, and now he's one of the best defensive players in the country. Guy was a quarterback and an offensive player walking on at Texas Tech, and now is getting some Heisman love. Absolutely love it. Alrighty, let's go to our NFL studs. I will go DeMarcus Lawrence. The Seattle Seahawks, we've been talking about Sam Darnold for most of the season, but how about DeMarcus Lawrence, who's no longer on the Cowboys, now in Seattle? He had not 1 but 2 touchdowns yesterday on the defensive side of the ball. Let me give a stud up to the in the NFL world to DeMarcus Lawrence.
Brissett hits his back foot. He gets hit as he throws. The ball's picked up. It's going the other way. It's DeMarcus Lawrence. He's going to walk in. Touchdown Seahawks if it stands. Arizona is going to argue that Brissett's arm was going forward. It's now called a touchdown Seahawks. 32 yards. D-Law picks it up and takes it in. 3rd down and 12. Brissett gets hit again. Ball bounces. Are you kidding me? It goes to D-Law again. Another touchdown. Seahawks. Holy catfish. Yes. Lightning strikes twice for the Seahawks defense. Ball bounces right to DeMarcus Lawrence. His 2nd touchdown of the game. The 4th of his career. And Seattle is up 27-0. Oh, my word.
Stud.
I didn't get the holy catfish last week when we were talking about Sam Darnold. We got it this week. Holy catfish. Love it. All righty, Stu.
All right, for my NFL stud, I'm going to go with someone who I feel like we could go with almost every week, and that is the Colts running back, Jonathan Taylor, who just another incredible performance. He continues to soar up the MVP odds. He is near the top of that right now. And again, for the Colts, they win another game, but it wasn't easy. They played the Falcons yesterday morning in Germany, and he was just unbelievable. He had 32 carries. That's kind of like a throwback to the running backs getting a lot of carries. 244 yards, not 1, not 2, but 3 rushing touchdowns. He had a big touchdown in the fourth quarter, which I'll play in a second, but he also had the go-ahead, the game-winning touchdown, if you will, for the Colts. But this was an 82-yard run in the fourth quarter, and it basically kind of put the Colts back on the map and gave them the lead.
17-16 on the Ruoff Mortgage scoreboard. Under center, Daniel Jones. Straight give to Jonathan Taylor. He's well over 100 yards. He adds to his total there, and he gets out. He's at the 30, 35, 40. He's going sideline. He's got a chance. Look at Pierce. He's at the 20, 10, 5, touchdown! There's the record breaker for Jonathan Taylor, and it puts the Colts on top.
Stud.
And now I'm sure Samter is going to praise the New England Patriots. We haven't mentioned Travion Henderson, and I'm sure since Samter loves the Patriots, they're 8-2. They had a huge victory up against the Bucs. Right? I'm holding my breath in great anticipation that Samter's going to give Travion Henderson his NFL stud. Correct?
My NFL stud, Travion Henderson. No way. Come on. Did you see that guy when he was scoring that touchdown? He looked over at the bench to see whether or not he should score or not.
Yeah, well, that's what winners do.
Yeah, no. You know what winners do? Winners know what to do before the play. I mean, don't look over to your coach. Make a decision and know what the hell you're doing.
A Jet fan.
Yeah, you know what?
Travion Henderson against that vaunted Tampa Bay defense, 14 carries, 147 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. That's more impressive than anything you could probably tell me with Jonathan Taylor already off the board, right?
Well, I mean, the guy has 400 yards rushing on the season, so I don't think Travion
Henderson's
Henderson's
But it's a week-by-week thing.
Yeah, whatever.
Week-by-week thing.
Yeah, he sucks. I'm going to go with a significantly better, more talented, more versatile running back. I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs.
Gets a crappy Commanders defense with now changing the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. 142 rushing yards, 9.5 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then 30 yards receiving because the guy is a dual threat player, unlike Travion Henderson, who can't do much else besides just kind of look over at his coach when he doesn't know whether or not to go into the end zone.
And receptions. Yeah, please. You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah.
You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, 227 total yards. He had another touchdown receiving, and then this was his 3rd touchdown of the game, something that Travion Henderson could only dream of doing someday in the NFL.
Detroit tosses it in. Gibbs right side. Inside the 20. Inside the 10. Inside the 5. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 44 yards.
Yes, sir.
Jahmyr Gibbs putting together a day, and the Lions have opened up that lead. It is now 41-16.
Hat-trick.
Stud.
All righty, let's get to the college football world, and we will get to our college football duds. Wisconsin, right? They said Luke Fickell was going to be back as the head football coach. Well, Luke Fickell and the Wisconsin Badgers actually got a win. It was their first win since their 2nd game of the season up against Middle Tennessee State. Since then, the Wisconsin Badgers lost to Alabama, Maryland, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, and Oregon. Now, if you would have told me before the game that they would beat a top 25 team in Washington, and they would have 4 people throw the football in the game, and they would only complete 6 passes, and their quarterbacks or people that threw the football would be 6 of 18 for 48 yards and no touchdowns and no interceptions, I would say there's no way in hell that the Wisconsin Badgers won the game, but they did. They defeated the Washington Huskies by a score of 13-10 after only having 6 completed passes in the game for 48 yards. Let's hear that Wisconsin defense make some big plays at the end of the game, but the Washington Huskies, for their dreadful performance and just not being able to score more than 13 points, they get my dud.
Tamon Williams takes the snap. Badgers trying to bring some heat. Williams a run for it, and he is stopped by Mason Posa at the 40-yard line. Posa with the stop. Badgers get it back up by 3 with 68 seconds to play.
Dud.
All right, you went with an offense for your dud. I'm going with a defense, and I'm going with Auburn's defense. They took on number 16 Vanderbilt on Saturday, and the offense, they did its job in their first game since the firing of Hugh Freeze. They proceeded to have 563 yards of offense. So, again, the offense did a job. They had a 14-point lead in the first half, but they still wound up losing. They lost 45-38 in overtime. And here was Diego Pavia, a 4-yard touchdown pass to Cole Spence in overtime to give them the the ultimate winner.
With Cedric Alexander, Gabe Fisher's in motion. There's the snap. It's Pavia. He throws a jump pass to the end zone. They've got it. Cole Spence, touchdown. Vanderbilt, overtime one. The Doors get 6 with number 16. They snuck him behind the defensive line. What a play. What a jump pass by number 2.
Dud.
So much for DJ Durkin getting that job full time. Yeah, that ain't happening. All righty, Sam, what do we got?
I'm going with a pair of quarterbacks, 2 guys who entered the season as Heisman hopefuls, DJ Lagway and Garrett Nussmeier. Both players benched during this game. Lagway got benched at halftime with 83 yards passing and 3 picks at the half. Nussmeier got benched a little bit more confusingly. He was 18 of 21 for 121 yards, and they were only down by 11 when he got benched midway through the third, but it didn't really seem to spark the offense. Lagway and Nussmeier, remember this, after 4 weeks, Garrett Nussmeier was the leader for the Heisman odds, right? He had 6 touchdowns, 2 picks. They were 4-0, including that win against Clemson in the real Death Valley. And now Nussmeier is just kind of a shell of himself, got his coach fired. And here, after the game, the interim head coaches for both teams, Billy Gonzalez for Florida and Frank Wilson for LSU, discuss why they made the moves.
As we discussed as a staff, we knew there could be opportunities in the quarterback run game, and then at the back end, as they tried to bring closure to it, they would make it difficult to just sit in the pocket. And so we wanted to move him around and do some things. We thought that he gave us a chance to do those things. So that went into the thought and why we put him in.
I told DJ, and I had a chance to talk with him. That was I told the staff the same thing. It was my decision to take him out of the game at that point. And we were struggling. He had a tough. But it's not all on him. And I told him that it's our responsibility. If someone's struggling, help them out or take them out so they're not put in that position to have to keep fighting through that. But just like in Major League Baseball, you have a bunch of great pitchers. And if a pitcher's struggling in major leagues, what do? You get the next guy in, right? And doesn't mean that he's not a great pitcher. Just means that wasn't his day. For some reason or another, it wasn't breaking. For some reason or another, he didn't have the day that he wanted to have. And, same thing for DJ.
Dud.
All righty, let me get to my NFL dud. Going into the fourth quarter, the Jaguars had a 29-10 lead up against the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans outscored the Jaguars with Davis Mills at the quarterback position 26-0 in the fourth quarter as Houston won the game 36-29. Now, on the last play of the game, the Texans scored a touchdown. That spread was vacillating back and forth all throughout the week. It was Houston -1, Houston -1.5, Jacksonville at times -1, 1.5. But there are people that had the Jaguars at +1 or +1.5, depending on when you got in the week. So you either were going to push or you at least were going to cover at +1.5 until that final play of the game when the Texans got that touchdown. Trevor Lawrence was just abysmal throughout the game. He was 13-23 for 158 yards, a touchdown and an interception, and also fumbled the ball twice and lost it clearly. And we go back to the last play of the game where he had that fumble for a Texans touchdown.
Here we go. 7 seconds to play. Shotgun for Trevor. Dropping the throw and it's a 3-man rush. He hit, the ball came out. It's intercepted. It is intercepted. It's going to be run back on the final play of the game. It's going to be a touchdown. Trevor got tripped. It was run back. Sheldon Rankins ran it back for a touchdown on the final play of the game. And Houston wins it.
Dud.
Were those announcers alive? I get it. That was Jacksonville radio, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. And it ended up being ruled a fumble that did go for a touchdown. But, geez Louise, that was absolutely brutal. Next one.
All right, for my NFL dud, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. And the primetime game last night, especially in the first half, did kind of remind me a little bit of the Raiders-Broncos from Thursday night. Basically, 2 offenses not doing much. But the Chargers wound up pulling away, but the Steelers, they did not look good. Aaron Rodgers, just a bad performance by him. He looked very old. He completed just 16 of 31 passes, only 161 yards through the air. Just 1 touchdown, was sacked 3 times, including a safety, and threw 2 interceptions, including this one in the fourth to Dante Jackson, as heard on Westwood One Radio.
Rodgers gets the snap, back to pass, looking to his left, throws left, and that's intercepted. Picked off by Jackson across the 45 to the 40. He'll run out of bounds at about the 39. The pass went off the hands of Calvin Austin into the hands of Dante Jackson. Second interception tonight for the Chargers.
Dud.
At one point during the game, our guy, this is late at night, Andrew Filipponi, he put up a graphic that NBC was showing. Aaron Rodgers tonight, minimum 15 passes, completion percentage 43%, the second lowest of his career, 4.2 yards per pass, third lowest of his career, quarterback rating 19.5, the lowest of his career. That was at one point during the game, so it just illustrates even more how dreadful Rodgers and the Steelers were. All righty, Sam, just send this home.
This one I'm going to enjoy. Josh freaking Allen. He is my dud of the week. I don't get to say it very often, so I'm going to revel in it. A week after beating the Kansas City Chiefs, they go into Miami and lay an absolute stinker, getting blown out 30-13 by the Dolphins. Shut out in the first 3 quarters was Josh Allen, including having a fumble and this ugly, disgusting interception in the end zone with a chance to kind of pull themselves into respectable range.
Ray Davis to the right of Allen in the shotgun on 3rd and goal from the 5. Here's the snap. Blitz coming. Allen gets rid of the football, looking into the end zone, and it's intercepted. Intercepted in the end zone, and coming up with it is Ifeatu Melifonwu. And the Bills will come away with nothing. It's the second turnover of the game deep in Miami territory, and the Bills will remain scoreless.
Dud.
And Jeremy Fowler is reporting that Bills are actually signing wide receiver McCole Hardman just a few moments ago to the practice squad. So maybe some help on the way for the Buffalo Bills. It's got to be tough to be Samter as a football fan. I know the Jets win, but all right, he sees his Bills, or the team that he doesn't like, the Buffalo Bills. They're starting to show some vulnerability. The Dolphins stink, but then the team that owns the most real estate in his Cabeza, my New England Patriots, are 8-2, and they just crushed another week. Oh, beautiful. They beat the Bills. They beat the Buccaneers. They've won 7 in a row. Ah, it's got to be wonderful. It's good to be back, folks. It's good to be back. Coming on back after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So before the season started, there was a lot of questions surrounding Lincoln Riley. And would Lincoln Riley at the end of the season be back with the Trojans? Well, USC is 7-2 right now. Their only 2 losses on the season was to Illinois and then to Notre Dame. They finished the year with Iowa, at Oregon, and UCLA. If they win out, USC will be in the college football playoff. I don't anticipate them losing out. I think they'll drop 1 game. And I think a 3-loss SEC team can get in the college football playoff this year. I do not think a 3-loss Big Ten team could make the college football playoff this year. But if at the end of the season, they're sitting there at 9-3, that's a successful season for USC. And I'm someone that's not the biggest fan of Lincoln Riley, but I do think it is a successful season if they are 9-3 at the end of the season. Well, last week, Josh Pate, he does this show with Bussin' with the Boys with Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, and he makes, I think, like 1 or 2 appearances a week on Bussin' with the Boys. And he had this nugget about Lincoln Riley.
Do you have any feeling on any of these job openings right now?
Yeah.
Care to off the record?
So just put this on your radar. All right, you ready?
Pull the pin.
All right, here we go. Let's just keep an eye on Lincoln Riley at USC.
So just keep an eye on Lincoln Riley at USC. I doubt USC is going to fire him, especially if they're having an outside chance to make the college football playoff. At worst case, they're going to be 9-3. Could they still only get to 8 wins? I guess it's possible if they lose to both Iowa and Oregon and they beat UCLA at the end of the season. But I think they're going to go 2-1 in those last 3 games of the season. So is USC going to fire Lincoln Riley? That I'd be surprised of. But Lincoln Riley once left Oklahoma, where he was king, and they would always win the Big 12. And he left Oklahoma to take the job at USC. So could Lincoln Riley not be happy at USC? Could he be looking for a way out? Could he see some of these jobs that are open this year? When you look across the board and you see LSU is open and you see that Auburn is open and you see that Penn State is open, right? Like you go, Florida's open. Like I don't know how many of these jobs he would be in play. I still think people view Lincoln Riley as a good coach, but I think Lincoln Riley's overrated. I think the way that how people used to think this guy was an elite coach and a great coach, that's not the case anymore. And I always just say this when he's at Oklahoma, why I would not call him elite, is yes, he had all those Heisman Trophy winners. He would always make the college football playoff. He would always win the Big 12. But did he ever win a college football playoff game with all those talented players? No, never did. And so far at USC, he's having a good season this year. But so far at USC, he's been a disappointment. But it's interesting to me, and I don't think Josh Pate just throws things out there to throw things out there. I actually have a lot of respect for Josh Pate. But he just said, keep an eye on Lincoln Riley at USC. I don't think it'd be USC firing him. I think it'd be Lincoln trying to get out of his own accord. So with that being said, Josh Pate threw that out there. And then Paul Feinbaum was on the Matt Barry Show podcast. And this is what Paul Feinbaum had to say about Lincoln Riley.
One other name, Matt, and I've been critical of this guy, but he's done a really good job this year of keeping his program together, and that's Lincoln Riley. And I'm not just saying this to say it, but I keep hearing whispers that he could be in play, and if he is, he could. You know, it's good for him that his name's back in the picture again. Don't know if he would leave the USC. But he still is one of those names that you can introduce at a press conference and people go, oh, wow, never thought of Lincoln Riley.
I would like to think that Lincoln Riley is going to be back at USC this year. You know, this upcoming offseason. I think he'd still be the coach. But that's Josh Pate and Paul Feinbaum both talking about maybe Lincoln Riley leaving USC this offseason, which would just be so weird because he's actually having success this year. If he wasn't having success, all right, based off your name, you reset, you go elsewhere. But he's having success, and there's thoughts of Lincoln Riley leaving USC. Do the windy fingers. What does that tell you? You got Pate, you got Feinbaum. They're both saying that Lincoln Riley could be out at USC. I don't think it's going to be because USC is going to fire Lincoln Riley. But what do they know? We'll see. Or here's Lincoln Riley. Has he heard about these coaching rumors of him leaving USC, and what does he make about them?
I've been underwater for the last 5 days, I feel like, so. Oh, man. You guys know what I sacrificed to come here. I'm where I need to be.
Not really that convincing, especially when he said things in the past that he won't be a coach somewhere or that he wasn't going to leave Oklahoma, and then he ultimately did leave Oklahoma. So maybe something to monitor. I don't know how factual it is, but it's just so far out of left field in a year where you didn't expect it. Now you have Pate and Feinbaum both speculating it. I guess we shouldn't be shocked if we find out in a few weeks that Lincoln Riley's leaving USC to go to another school. But in my gut, and also in my brain, I just keep on thinking that he's still going to be back with the Trojans next year. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Mike in Abilene, Texas wants to chime in on some of the college football from this weekend. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing splendidly. You know, part of the beauty of calling you guys is, A, you're the best on the air. But in the wait times, there is pure gold that spews from the mouths of the experts. Now, unfortunately, sometimes our emotions get involved. Samter, careful with the Travion hate. I know we've stomped you out in a mud hole for a decade. I know you're reeling. I'm still not going to call you M. Mike because I love you and I get it. You're in your emotions, and you are absolutely correct. Jonathan Taylor is way better of a running back than my boy Travion. We could have given him a little pat on the back for a good day, but we went to Penn State. We're in our feels route. Hey, it's okay. You're going to get a new coach. You guys are going to be good. Still won't be beating us or winning natties anytime soon, but hey, it's going to get better, okay? Now, to my point, I am a Buckeyes fan. However, there are some other teams that I like to root for based on, personal ties.
Yeah, you really like rooting for Michigan, correct? You always like rooting for Michigan and seeing Michigan do well, right? That's a team you're about to say, correct?
I love how you always make sure, even if you don't know if I'm listening, you make sure that you say something about, well, if they got to beat Michigan still. You and the Barstool guy, hey, eat your pizza. It's coming this year. Great. Let me tell you a little bit about Lubbock, Texas, boys. I'm in Abilene. It's right on down the street. We're actually closer to Lubbock than we are Dallas. When I tell you that Lubbock is nothing special, you think it's, it is West Texas, brother. There is nothing but dust and sandstorms as far as the eye can see, and some oil field money. When I tell you that town is one of the best college towns, when they make the playoff, which all roads look like they're going to make the playoff this year, boy, I tell you, there are very few other places you'll want to be that you would have a better time than Lubbock, Texas. The West Texas barbecue is going to be flowing. The beer's going to be flowing. No one's going to mind that they're eating mouthfuls of sand and dust with their ribs because it's what we do out here. I just wanted to give a shout out to Lubbock, Texas, man. It is such a cool place. I know you get to go around a lot and see all different parts of the country based on your job. I'm super envious of that. I think that's so cool. Man, if you haven't been to Lubbock, Texas for a game day, man, you need to make sure you get on down there because it is going to be one of the loudest, craziest places that we've ever seen. The stadium's not big. I mean, it's dwarfed in comparison to some of the, the namesake, like the Swamp and the Shoe and the Big House.
You know what it looked like on television this past weekend? It looked like if a country club had a little nookie time with the fraternity. and the offspring was Lubbock, Texas. Those are the vibes that I got while watching it on my couch this past weekend. And I love Joey Maguire, and the job that he's done there has been incredible. You have Hammond and Baron Morton going back and forth this year with their separate injuries. And defensively, the kid Rodriguez is unbelievable. Bailey's going to be a top 20 pick. That was really a cool thing to see. And Mike, appreciate the phone call I'm up against, so I got to let you run. But BYU Kalani Sitake is such a successful program. But that was a country club frat party that you saw on Saturday afternoon. And it was such a special, cool, neat environment. And that's what makes college football so fun. But they spent the money. Now they needed to follow through and produce wins on the football field. And they are basically 3 victories away from going to the college football playoff. It's a heck of a job so far by Joey Maguire, and we'll see if it's going to continue. All righty, we do have Eagles and Packers tonight to wrap up Week 10 at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. We will preview that game when we come on back. Also reset the biggest story of the day, and that is Brian Daboll getting fired as the head football coach of the New York Giants. Who could be next for Big Blue? We'll discuss on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive Insurance, who is proud to support veterans and small businesses with an annual Keys to Progress vehicle giveaway program, helping our heroes drive their lives forward. Learn more at keystoprogress.com. There is a second coaching vacancy now in the NFL, with the Giants firing Brian Daboll in his 4th season. He was Coach of the Year his first year at the helm, leading the Giants to a playoff victory, but he has 11 wins since the team mired in its 3rd straight 2-8 start. Offensive coordinator Mike Kafka takes over. GM Joe Shane remains in place and will lead the search for a new coach. Commanders head coach Dan Quinn taking over the defensive play calling from Joe Witt. The Bengals have had a miserable season, now hoping Joe Burrow can save them. His 21-day practice window opened. He was limited at practice. He has been out since week 2 with turf toe. The Jets will be without Garrett Wilson for 3 to 4 weeks due to a sprained knee. Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton announced he underwent surgery on Friday for testicular cancer. He said his prognosis is excellent and hopes to be back soon. Final game of Week 10, a rematch from last year's playoffs. The Packers host the Eagles, looking to avenge that loss. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Rock your body, yeah. Hey, this is Howie.
And this is Nick.
From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
You know what I just thought of, by the way? And it did creep into my mind when Mike in Abilene, Texas was on the line. These are now back-to-back phone calls from Mike in Abilene, Texas. So I think is a phenomenal caller. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476 that you get on board with us. But now it's twice where I think he's confusing Moist Mike with somebody. Because he keeps on saying that Moist Mike is a Penn State fan. So either two things are happening there, and maybe I will have the courage to ask Mike at Abilene, Texas this next time. Is he just confusing Moist Mike for Hickey, who was once my producer and was a massive Penn State fan? And that's when Mike was first introduced to the show. Or when we tease Samter for his Sun Devils and we just say Arizona State, in his mind, is he just hearing Penn State just because of the state part? But the last two phone calls, Mike at Abilene, Texas, has referred to Samter, Moist Mike, as a Penn State fan. Just something to monitor in the Zach Gelb Show housekeeping. All righty, it's time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's see what we have today. Evan in New Jersey says, Zach, do you think Brian Daboll now means getting fired, now means Lane Kiffin might be headed to MetLife Stadium to coach Jackson Dart? You could submit a question by tweeting at INF Sports Center, at Zach Gelb, using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. So Boomer Esiason was the first one to speculate this. And it was Jackson Dart's father, we played the sound last week, who said he's on a text chain with his son Jackson and then also Lane Kiffin. And Jackson Dart's father was the one that threw out the potential speculation from Boomer Esiason that Lane Kiffin could be the next coach of the Giants. And Lane Kiffin responded something along the lines of, oh, that's too cold for me during that time, to be up there in New York, New Jersey that time of the year. I don't anticipate Lane Kiffin going back to the NFL. I don't think that's happening this year. If Lane Kiffin's not going to be back in Oxford, Mississippi, I think it's going to be because he's going to be in Baton Rouge and he's going to be the next head football coach at LSU. I don't think he's taking the Florida job. I think if he leaves Ole Miss, it will only be for LSU. So I do not think you could speculate it. You could kind of, kick the tires on it, see if he'll actually say no when you call. But I also believe that Lane Kiffin is going to be either at LSU or staying at Ole Miss, and I don't see him be the next head football coach of the Giants. Now, in terms of who could be the next head football coach of the Giants, there's going to be a lot of names that be speculated. I don't think it'll be Bill Belichick. Joe Brady, just because they just hired Daboll and he was the OC from the Bills, can you really hire another OC from the Bills? I'd probably say no. Cliff Kingsbury, I wouldn't be interested in. Kevin Stefanski, if the Browns fire him, two-time coach of the year, maybe you make that move. McCarthy, if you're just looking for some stability, everywhere McCarthy goes, he at least has respectable teams. Could you go the young offensive coordinator route with Clint Kubiak? Yes. People are going to say John Gruden. I don't think John Gruden's going to happen, but because John Gruden loves Jackson Dart, people will talk about it. Mike Kafka is going to be the interim. He's been a guy that's been in line to get a head coaching job. I don't think that he'll get the full-time head coaching gig. I'm going to go with the defensive coordinator. Young guy, full of energy, knows Jim Harbaugh, worked with Jim Harbaugh for many years. I'm going to say Jesse Minter is doing a kick-ass job with the Los Angeles Chargers as their defensive coordinator. He's going to get a job. And he's been with both Harbaugh brothers. Was with John with the Ravens, then went to Michigan, then with the Chargers with Jim at Michigan and with the Chargers. This guy is 42 years old, full of energy. I think he's a definition of a player's coach that isn't a doormat. I know people are going to sit there and say, well, Zach, can you really hire a defensive coordinator when so much of that hire is predicated off getting the best out of Jackson Dart? Yeah, I think you can. I know the guy's established, but Drake May's taking that next step with Mike Vrabel as defensive-minded head coach. Mike McDonald, who's head football coach of the Seahawks, I know he's been there for 2 years. He's got some really good stuff out of Sam Darnold this year. So I don't think it's the end of the world to hire a defensive-minded head coach. I think Jesse Minter is someone that will delegate, and I think he'll bring in the proper offensive coordinator. Could you maybe keep Mike Kafka, or maybe he wants one of his own guys? That's something that we'll have to see. But if you ask me right now, Zach, who would be a really good hire for the Giants? I'm going to say Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. All righty, tonight, we do have the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, the NFC, you have a lot of good teams, but you just don't know who's going to show up in the NFC week in and week out. I think this game means a whole lot more for the Packers than it does the Eagles, because you look at the Packers' schedule this year. Yeah, they beat the Lions. That was in week 1. They beat the Commanders in week 2. Since then, they got allowed 13 unanswered points at Cleveland Browns in the fourth quarter. They tied the Dallas Cowboys. They just beat an injured Cincinnati Bengals team. You know, they beat the Cardinals. They beat the Steelers. And they lost to the Carolina Panthers. You look at the Green Bay Packers, they can make a statement tonight that even though it's been a little bit up and down at 5-2-1, they get to 6-2-1 in the season, they beat the Eagles. That shows you they're ready to take that next step. I question LaFleur. I question Jordan Love. I think they're good. I question if that duo can be great. I question if that duo can be elite. You beat Philadelphia tonight. It's the best win you've had of the season. And I know you beat the Lions. I know you beat the Commanders back in week 2. But beating the Eagles, the defending world champs, will be the best win of the season. On the other side, it's not like Philadelphia has nothing to prove in this game either. Like, there's something to prove here for Philadelphia, too. But for the Eagles, they went through the messiness of last year, and they still won the Super Bowl. If the Eagles drop this one tonight and they're 6-3 in an NFC East where the Commanders stink, the Cowboys stink, and the Giants stink, you know that you're going to get into the postseason. But you win this game tonight and you're 7-2, you start thinking 1 seed again. And when you have home field advantage in the playoffs in Philadelphia, I know that they were the 2 seed last year, but then the Lions lose and they were able to have a home NFC championship game. Then when the Eagles got to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history, they had the number 1 overall seed. You make that playoff road travel to Philadelphia now, Eagles become a tough out. Really tough out. And we'll see what Jalen Phillips does for this defense tonight. But this is a spot for Philadelphia. If they win this game tonight, you know, I wouldn't say it's their best win of the season because beating the Chiefs is probably the one nationally that carries the most weight. But this then is, okay, the Eagles, even with all the sloppiness, they could be more like the team last year than this year. And then, oh, yeah, by the way, if they win this week, they get another NFC North. Even if they lose, they get the team anyway. But then they go make another statement going and play the Lions coming up on Sunday at the end of the week. So they start the week with the Packers, and then they end the week with the Lions. If they win both those games, wow, you put the Eagles back in the super conversation. They lose both those games. All right, you start to question if you get a split. I think as long as both those games are close and you win one and you lose one, I think people start to think the Eagles are a team that could definitely get back to the Super Bowl. I think there's more to gain for the Packers tonight, but the Eagles can remind everybody that they're still here and you still have to go through them to beat the champ. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ, and you got to remember that the Eagles are the champs. All right, that will do it for the Zach Gelb Show today on a Monday on the Infinity Sports Network. Big thanks to Stu. Big thanks to Samter. Big thanks to each and every one of you for tuning on in however you do consume us across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, SiriusXM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, or on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. If you don't do that, make sure you do so right now. Well, you still can. All righty. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. We'll talk to you then. Enjoy the football tonight. We'll recap it all tomorrow. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.